Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to have you here. We're going to get started on our 35th annual Mount Vernon Town Meeting. So if everybody could just grab a seat, we'll get things rolling here for another wonderful event, and the first one in person for 2 years. So thank you. Like a true town meeting, we've got a lot going on today. We've got public participation. We've got questions that people are going to be able to ask. A lot of it is about why we're here, and the core of that is because we represent all of you, and this is your opportunity to speak with us. Tell us, ask questions, challenge us, and otherwise just make sure that we're listening to you and we're providing the kind of community that you all deeply care and want to be part of. I want to thank Channel 16 here today, both live cable television as well as they're live streaming this. It's also going to be live streamed on Facebook and YouTube. So there's a couple other places that you can watch this. Additionally, we would love to get your support to stream this on social, to kind of get the word out on social media. The best way to do that is to get 35th Annual Mount Vernon Town Meeting trending is to hashtag MV Town Meeting or to tweet us at Dan Storck. So either one of those would be great, just to get folks know that we're out here. They can watch live or they can stream. There's lots of different ways that they can be involved. There's a variety of ways that people can ask questions today, and that ultimately is the core part of why we're here. The most common way and the easiest way and the way that we can actually respond to the most questions is for people to fill out one of the white cards that you'll see that's handed to you when you come in, as well as they'll be passed out today. That's the easiest way. But you're also welcome to put your questions on Facebook or also to put something in Twitter. You have any of those kinds of mechanisms, any of those vehicles that you want to send us something, we'll get it, and my staff will make sure that that question gets asked. So we've got a lot of speakers here today. Mostly to make sure that you're aware of what's going on in the community and hopefully to impart some new knowledge about what's happening at the federal and local levels. We have the first QA today will be with our county elected officials. The second question and answer period today will be with Karen and myself. We know that we always get a lot of school and county questions as part of that. And then the final one will be at the very end after the virtual fly-through. And it's a chance not only to write a card down and give us a question, but will also be an open mic for folks who want to be able to speak directly to their elected officials. To get things started, I'm going to ask everybody to please be considerate and wear a mask. I won't have one on, although when I leave this dais, you'll see me put one on because it's a little bit harder for people to hear me when I have a mask on. So, and hopefully I'm far enough away from all of you that there won't be any virus spreading as part of that. But please wear a mask, socially distance outside of your particular group. And for those of you who haven't been vaccinated, we have an amazing and wonderful opportunity for you to go just next door. I was just over there talking with the folks at the health department. They've already vaccinated a number of people today, and they would love to add some folks to the list. So whether you've had your first or second or you haven't had your booster, those are all things that can be done, and it's a great part of the morning. So those are some of the preliminary things, and I'm now going to get started kind of into the formal program, which is a moment of silence. So if you could please stand for a moment of silence. And the first part of this is to think about all the folks that we've lost, Mount Vernon residents and many others that we've lost this past year. For me, it's a personal loss is my mother, Kathy Storck, who was 93 years young and told me everything I needed to know, but more importantly, told me how to love and care for everybody in the world, as well as all the birds and animals and things that truly make up our natural world. We also have Police Officer Bryan, Mrs. G. Gojer, Chef Ramadanan Bhatt, Paul Calland, Dr. D.R. Butler, Addie and Jean Krizak, we all know and remember them well, Reg Smith, the incomparable Reg, Johnny Artis and his music, Ann Andrews, who never knew how to not say something needed to be done, and will always, and actually I'm looking at Gerry and we're both kind of smiling as we say this, Ann was always there about anything that had to do with people and caring and making a difference in people's lives. Mary Scott, who passed after a long illness and very much a part of our community. One of my favorite all times is Colonel Barney Barnwell. He was the gift to all of us and the person who every day he gave a lunch to somebody. That was his way of paying it forward and making a difference in other people's lives. And Doug Jones, who I worked with a fair amount, I know Gerry did, who very much represented our community and the interests and needs and concerns. So, and frankly, everybody that we've lost through COVID. So if you could just take a moment and remember all those wonderful people. Well, thank you for honoring them with me. Next, we will have the presentation of colors by the Mount Vernon High School Marine Corps Junior ROTC Color Guard. Please face the flag and color guard.
Order, arms. Left wheel, march. Flag up, carry, colors. Ready, cut. Present. Colors.
If you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. And now if you could please welcome Denise Flores, an Edison graduate who is now majoring in music at Northern Virginia Community College. She will be singing our national anthem. Ms. Flores.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Wow. Thank you.
Right wheel, march. Over, march.
Thank you to our wonderful junior ROT color guard presenters, First Sergeant Gennaro Mazzaro, United States Marine Corps retired, Cadet Captains Alexander Red, Alex Haim Small, and Jasmine Green, as well as Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Asaya Khan. Thank you very much, and a special thanks to the Mount Vernon High School principal, Javon Rogers. I think Javon is in the crowd here, and thank you very much. I saw her a little bit earlier. And Director of our Student Services, Fernando Belli, and their wonderful staff for supporting this event every year. Also to the Mount Vernon High School boosters for hosting the reception out here in the hallway this morning. So thank you all very, very much. And I hope you all had a chance to visit the Fort Hunt Children's Business Fair today, and all of our young entrepreneurs from Stratford Landing, Waynewood, and Sandburg Middle School. So thank you, Fraser O'Leary, for organizing and bringing these students here today. We urge everyone to buy very, very, very local, meaning down the hallway. So please help our young entrepreneurs have a successful business day. Thank you. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have the health department here providing COVID vaccinations, so please take full advantage of that. And I also want to thank Donna Minacci, the producer, Sarah Prohaska, and the entire Channel 16 crew for their professionalism and the many hours of work they provide to bring this to you and to bring this to all of us every single year. It's a huge event, a huge activity on their part, and they make it work very, very well, even in every year. So thank you. And last, and definitely not least, I want to give a big thank you to the Mount Vernon High School student technicians, Caden and Elizabeth, and their theater teacher, Jess Shaw, who are up in the rafters here, making sure that we've got good sound and lighting, and I appreciate all the work that they're doing and the learning that they're embarking upon as part of this event every year. So thank you. While I will introduce our speakers in a little bit later in the program, I have a number of other special guests here today that I wanted to make note of and identify for you. First and foremost, I wanted to introduce my friend and companion for over 50 years, Deb Storck. Thank you, Deb. Yeah, she gets a round of applause. Yeah, I also want to thank, and frankly, without him, we would not be here today. I want to thank my predecessor, Supervisor Gerry Highland, who started this amazing tradition 35 years ago, and for his current service on the County Redistricting and Renaming Commission. Gerry, as always, Gerry Highland, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. And I understand today that Supervisor Rodney Lusk for Lee District is here today. Rodney, awesome, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Additionally, we have Deputy County Executive Rachel Flynn. I believe she's in the audience somewhere. I haven't seen her yet. We also have Mount Vernon Police Station Lieutenant Kevin Shaw. Lieutenant Shaw, thank you, sir. Thank you. And we have our Police Patrol Bureau Chief, Major Eli Corey. Eli, thank you, sir. I also wanted to recognize what really makes the district and frankly makes our local government, our democratic government, hum. We have Mount Vernon district appointees to more than 50 different boards, authorities, and commissions. More than 50, that wasn't a mistake. We have that many, and all you name it, we pretty much have it for that kind of activity. But these BACs, boards, authorities, commissions, make a huge difference in our lives. And the representatives, the folks who serve us on those boards, authorities, commission really have a commitment to and a passion for the particular work that they do. So if you need to know who those folks are, they are listed in the program, they're listed in the bags that you got, as well as not only their names, but also the different groups they represent. And if those individuals could stand up and at least wave and be recognized by the folks that are here. We have so many of them. I know we have a number of them here. Thank you very much. Thank you for service. Thank you for your service. Yep. every year we have a number of award-winning, I don't just mean locally award-winning, but we have state and sometimes national award-winning individuals that are part of the Mount Vernon district. And those folks in particular I wanted to recognize this year for the awards that they've received, and I would like for them to stand and if you will, to be acknowledged. First, I want to start with Lisa Sales, who's our Lady Fairfax. Lisa, welcome. Thank you very much for being here. Kerry Kincannon is Lord Fairfax. Kerry, thank you, sir, very much. Kerry has been a big part of our community for decades. We also have a community champion, Reverend Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown, yes, Dr. Brown, I don't know if he's... Dr. Brown has been very involved with the community and as local minister and led our very successful March for Justice about a year ago. So thank you, Reverend Brown. One of my personal favorites and somebody who is incredibly deeply committed. I know when I say her name, Gerry's going to have a big smile on his face as well. Gina Lynch. Gina was awarded the Virginia Animal Control President's Award. Gina, you here? I haven't seen you so far. Gina has done, she's an amazing job for decades protecting and ensuring that animals and frankly all of God's creatures are respected and cared for in a humane way. Additionally, we have Senator Scott Servo won an Environmental Excellence Award, and Scott I know is not here today, but he has worked hard for anybody who's followed some of the legislation he's had from saving some of the coal retention issues and river farms he was very involved with, as well as for a number of other environmental issues. Maura Keeney was the Fairfax County History Committee's Distinguished Service Award. Maura was very involved with our historical plaques and recognizing on a judge. And finally, I have Will Friedman. Will Friedman was the 2021 Friends of Trees Award from the Fairfax County Tree Commission. Will, are you here? Will's been very involved with all environmental issues. I wanted to acknowledge his work on all of our behalf. Additionally, we have two special guests today, and I'd like to first welcome Congressman Don Beyer, who represents our 8th District. He serves as chairman of Congress's Joint Economic Committee and serves on the House Committee on Ways and Means, as well as on the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, where he chairs the Space Subcommittee. He's a co-chair of the New Democrats Coalition Climate Change Task Force. Don, we also appreciate your past service as Virginia's Lieutenant Governor and as U.S. Ambassador to Switzerland. How cool is that, right? So please welcome Congressman Don Beyer.
Thank you, Dan, very much. It's so nice. Good morning. It's so wonderful to be back here again at Dan Storck, the Legacy Gerry Highland meeting. We're very lucky that Mount Vernon and Fairfax County are among the best managed governments on our planet. And thank you for continuing to elect local leaders who are so deeply committed to this community. And thanks for sending my uncle and role model, Gerry Connolly, back to Congress again and again. Who, by the way, this week just led the largest postal reform bill in a generation. And it was all Gerry's work. So. And thanks for allowing Gerry Highland to retire so I don't have to give this whole presentation in punning language. Last time I was here 2 years ago, we've completed more than 5,000 cases, many of which were for constituents here in Mount Vernon. Social Security, Medicare, tax returns, immigration issues, even passports the night before. And if we can't help, we'll call Scott or Paul or somebody in Richmond. And if they can't help, we'll call Gerry Connolly. And we'll make sure that we happen. By the way, among the people we lost from Mount Vernon this year was also D.C. Police Officer Jeff Smith, who died as a direct result of the January 6th insurrection. I want to briefly just talk about what's happening on the Hill. Dan mentioned I'm chairman of the Joint Economic Committee, the most fun I've had since college. A wonderful group of young economists who are the ones who put together the Payment Protection Plan, the PPP, Payroll Protection Plan, and the direct impact payments. Much of the money that went to sustain America through COVID came out of the research we had done. We passed the American Rescue Plan, a very important pandemic relief that's got us, almost 80% of Americans have had some vaccine. They included my little piece on making sure the vaccines were free. It also helped support lots of small businesses, local governments, and unemployed Americans. The other big accomplishment of 2021 was the infrastructure plan. Again, the largest in our lives. The biggest input into railroads since the start of Amtrak 50 years ago. And lots of bridges, I think it's 17,000 bridges just in Virginia. DOT is standing up lots of new programs that Chairman McKay, Supervisor Storck, and others will be accessing to put money into Fairfax County out of that. And to wrap up the 2021 achievements, we did the Equality Act, which prevents discrimination against the LGBT community, and the Women's Health Protection Act in the House, which codifies Roe and awaits consideration in the Senate. On local issues, though, that's where we spend an awful lot of time. Airplane noise, we're working, really hard on making sure that the airplanes leave National and they fly directly to Fort Washington before turning left or right. I had a conversation this past week with the Deputy FAA Administrator on that. Our helicopter noise study was included in the defense bill, and they have solid recommendations. I had a conversation Thursday with the commander of the Military District of Washington on, once again, raising the altitude levels at which the helicopters can fly, just to keep them farther away from our neighborhoods. The Park Service finally released this long-awaited George Washington Safety Study, which we had commissioned years ago. And I know it's somewhat controversial, but we're still excited that we're getting things like the striping and the pylons and the enhanced signage and the reducing lanes of slow speed. I know there are drainage problems and protruding branches and problems at certain intersections, but Charles Cuvelier and the Park Service are going to work closely with us to make sure that what problems we can fix, we will, but we're going to keep charging forward. And I was thrilled to see that our efforts on the Mount Vernon Trail have paid off. They're going to replace Bridge 12 and realign the Mount Vernon Trail. It was just announced this week. Again, long overdue. And working with, in the category of small things making a difference, I was thrilled that we actually brokered a deal this week among the Parkway staff, the vendor, and the community to reopen the Belhaven Marina restrooms. At the end of the day, my grandchildren are mostly going to talk about restrooms at Iwo Jima and Belhaven Marina as the largest things. There's some issues with the code box, so you're encouraged to talk to the staff there. And finally, major pavement replacement on the Parkway north of Spout Run through Mark Warner's efforts with the Great Outdoors Act. Mark and Gerry and I are now working to get that same investment in the Parkway South. Finally, we continue to work with the Department of Interior on Bijan Gaysar and trying to make sure that the people responsible for his unnecessary death are held accountable. And as I walk off, the biggest concern I have is how divided we are as a people and how pessimistic we are. There's some amazingly great things happening in America today in science and investment. Virginia's unemployment rate's 3.2%, huge budget surpluses and the like. But we still have to come together. And I deeply believe that America's best days lie ahead and that we have to do this together, listening together, to make sure that we get there. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be part of the Mount Vernon community. And Dan, I yield back to you.
Thanks, Don. Thank you very much, sir. Well, thank you again, Don, and it is always a pleasure to have you here, and particularly deeply appreciate your service on behalf of our community, our state, and our country. Congressman Gerry Connolly represents residents of the 11th District and Southern area of Mount Vernon. He is a senior member of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform and serves as chairman of the Subcommittee on Government Operations. He also serves on the House Committee on Foreign Affairs. Gerry, as I've always called him at least, is always a pleasure sharing our town meeting with you, and we all appreciate your long history of service on our Board of Supervisors, initially as the Providence District Supervisor, and then chairman of the board, and your leadership in Congress. So, sir, welcome. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you. Well, good morning. I'm the other Gerry. My first, I think my first Mount Vernon Town Hall meeting was about 17 years ago, and then Supervisor Hyland presented me a singing lobster. I still have it. He also gave me a six-pack of Moxie, kind of a New England drink. He tells me I no longer need the Moxie. It's great to be with you, and you know, I look at what Dan Storck Storck and Rodney Lusk and Jeff McKay are doing in local government and all of their staff and colleagues, the school board. And to me, that's the most noble level of government. What we do at the federal level has to be implemented at the local level. You know, I love telling the story, and it's a true story. One Sunday morning, I got awoken at like 6 in the morning with a phone call when I was Providence Supervisor, and constituent said, "Is this Gerry Connolly?" I said, "Yes," looking at my watch. She said, "The Providence Supervisor." I went, "Yes." She said, "Well, I have a dead deer on my lawn. What are you going to do about it?" I'm again looking at my watch. It's Sunday morning. I said, "Well, have you thought about calling animal control?" To which she said, "Oh, I didn't want to bother them so early on a Sunday morning." It's all about accountability. We know where you live. We got your phone number, and you're accessible, and you live right on the edge of about accountability. We know if you got it done or you didn't. I love that about local government. And I love having this kind of forum where we're accountable to you for what we've been doing and what we need to be doing. Hopefully we're coming out of a pandemic. It's never tested us in our lifetimes like anything we've experienced before. There's a little sign that says 3, meaning I got 3 minutes. I think you've dropped a 0. You meant 30, right? But thank you. And it's tested us in unbelievable ways. But you know what? The world did not come to an end. We experienced tragedy. We experienced loss. We experienced fear. But we soldiered on. Government continued to function. And I'm proud of the fact that just in this last year, we passed a $1.9 trillion COVID bill that provided relief to our state and local governments, to our school systems, to hungry kids. We cut child poverty in America in half with that one bill. And in the fall, we passed a transformative infrastructure bill, $1.2 trillion. And you got to remember that that's an investment in our future. We're going to universalize pre-K. We're going to universalize broadband. Broadband is, to our time, what rural electrification was in the 1930s. It transformed everything. It equalized opportunity in education and employment. It's a necessary investment in ourselves and our future, and they have returns on them. Dwight D. Eisenhower had the vision to create an interstate highway system 70 years ago. That investment, whatever it cost, continues to have a return on it today. Somebody in the federal government decided to create something called DARPANet, an internal way of communicating. And that was 100% federally funded with our tax dollars. And then someone decided it might have commercial applicability. Of course, it's called the internet today. Whatever we paid to develop that was certainly worth every penny. And it's transformed our lives. So as we come out of this pandemic, and I believe we are coming out of this pandemic, let's look to the future. Let's bind our wounds. Let's try to come together. Let's look for common ground. Let's remember we're all Americans. And we'll be stronger and better. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Awesome as usual, Gerry. Thank you very much for your service. As we start the rest of our program, I want to take a minute and just really thank all of you for being here today, either in person or virtually, either one, just to keep this in my mind, institution to keep this opportunity for us to engage in a town meeting about our community is the essence of democracy. And having you here either in person or real is virtually is really the essence of what we want. And the fact as well that more than 90% of the people of Fairfax County have gotten at least one vaccination shot. So we have a very engaged and aware and scientifically sensitive, I would say, a community that has made a difference for all of us, because that truly allows or enables us to be here together, that level of vaccination and protection. Now let's talk about what's going on in Mount Vernon District. What's happening here? What do we call and how are things going with the place that we call home? This past year, I worked very hard with the chairman, the county executive, and his staff to address the many, many county infrastructure needs in the Mount Vernon District. These are county infrastructure needs in Mount Vernon District. We invested more than $30 million in 21 and 2022 in roads, sidewalks, and trails. Things that really make our connectivity improve and really make a difference and frankly keep us a little bit safer as a result. We also invested more than $270 million, that's not a mistake, $270 million in new or renovated county buildings. And the list, as you'll see throughout the meeting today, is a long one, ones that are making a true difference in our community. Almost $1 billion in county money in storm, wastewater, and other environmental and health-related facilities and infrastructure improvements in the district. We have a lot of county facilities in the district. Those investments are huge in keeping them and keeping all of us a viable and growing and effective community. And finally, last but definitely not least, and I know you all have heard this from us many, many times. I know the chairman in particular, he and I have talked about this, is that we have more than $1 billion that's being invested, or we expect to have, in terms of dollars for our Main Street, for Richmond Highway, the Main Street of Mount Vernon and Lee District as well. Those investments really are the difference in where we were 20, 30 years ago and where we are today, and just importantly, where we'll be 20 or 30 years from now. We know that we have more to do. We have far more to do. Investments in education, efforts and work to get our utilities undergrounded, as well as private investment, which is a huge driver of all the other economic and other changes that we want and more. So those are our opportunities. We've got a long way to go, but we've made some amazing progress over the last few years. So I thank all of you and thank particularly our other county leaders who've been a key part of helping that and making that happen. I continue to look for ways to share more information with each of you, and that is an eternal challenge. A few weeks ago, many of you should have received a mailer from me that identified the lots of things going on in the district. And I don't have it, but the mailer is something that we passed out. It goes to every single household. It lists not only a statement from me and the staff that's involved with putting those things together, but it has a 2021 results, the things that we accomplished, as well as the 2022 focus and investments. So those things are things that we urge everybody to take a look at. If you have questions about or have a need to ask us further about it, we'd be happy to share that with you. My mission and goal for truly the almost 20 years that I've been an elected official representing all of you has been to connect, number one, to listen and to share with each and every one of you what we're doing, what's happening in the district. Whether through events like this, the town meeting, or phone calls that you may make to me or my staff, or my weekly open office hours. Yes, I have office hours every week that anybody can walk into and talk with me. There's no stopping at the door. You want to talk with me, you're welcome to do that. And then once a month, as most of you know, for more than a decade, I've had the second Saturday of the month open office hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. I do that because I want to hear from you. I want to engage with you. I want to make a difference with you. And my team and I are always there to serve you. As you know, there is lots to see and do in our district. I'm very proud of that. Tourism is one of Mount Vernon's biggest economic drivers and job providers. It continues to be hard hit by COVID. Anybody who's been around recognizes that COVID has really put a dent in travel. In addition to providing more jobs and revenue, though, it also provides connections to our past, a source of community pride, support for our artists and entrepreneurs, like folks we have out here today, helps protect our natural areas and create opportunities for new entertainment, lodging, and restaurants. Part of the things that make Mount Vernon a vibrant community is that you have places to go, things that you want to do, and you have people that you can meet and engage while you're out there. Our tourism industry helps to support that. It helps to create far more of those. The Tourism Task Force I initiated in 2018 focused on uniting our rich cultural, historic, and natural resources, as well as creating a brand identity and cross-marketing opportunities through the creation of local attraction packaging and synergy collaboration between these different sites and venues. This year, I am thrilled to introduce Potomac Banks. Visit Fairfax South is the brand that we're going to use to bring all these different pieces together. Most of you have heard about Mount Vernon Estate. Some of you are familiar with the National Museum of the U.S. Army, George Mason, the George Washington Memorial Parkway. You have those different pieces, but bringing something together that connects all those allows us a chance to talk to a much wider audience, not only folks around the metropolitan area, but folks around the country, folks around the world. And bringing them here to see and experience what we know and we, frankly, sometimes take for granted is a key part of how we can continue to educate and engage and have the world be part of what we do here. The Potomac brand unifies our various sites while raising awareness, increasing visitors, and better connecting our many attractions here in Fairfax South. I'll be talking a little bit more about this in the virtual tour. There are some of the issues, and these are some of the issues that residents have expressed concern and engaged our team, MVD, with on a regular basis. Yes, there is a regular basis that we hear these. In fact, maybe regular is not even the word, it's a constant. Some of these are far more significant than others. COVID, as you might imagine, is truly the one that has got all of our attention. We also have a lot of discussions and communication about housing. That's been a big part of a big concern about us. All of us this year is how do we make sure that housing stays affordable while still providing more housing for the people that want to live, work, learn, and play in our district. Those are all key parts of that. The Mount Vernon Town Meeting is also a way that we can bring these things together, and frankly, this doesn't get done without an amazing team. This team works very hard. They're warm, they're caring, they're fun, and maybe most importantly, they put up with me. So I'm deeply thankful for that and deeply thankful for the work that they do for all of us every single day. I wanted to acknowledge their presence here and to thank them personally. I'll start with my Chief of Staff, Christine Morin. Christine, thank you very much. Our super extraordinary volunteer, Shirley Short. Shirley, perfect timing. Shirley, thank you. Thank you, Shirley. Our Communications Director and Environmental Coordinator, Kamala Spear. Kamala, thank you. Our Development and Land Use Liaison, Nick Reinhardt. Nick's right here with the, appreciate it, Nick. Our Health, Housing, and Human Services Liaison, Alex Kramer. Alex, yep, sorry, this man, thank you. Our Transportation Liaison, Peyton Smith. Peyton, thank you, sir. And our newest member, our Office Manager and Community Outreach Coordinator, Maddie Carcamo Reyes. Maddie, thank you, Maddie. Thank you all very much for the difference you make in my life as well as in the lives of the Mount Vernon community. Even though it's been a rough 2 years, Team MVD continues to safely and responsibly host community events following COVID protocols. This is a good example of that today. And we had our biggest turnouts ever for the Environmental Expo this past fall and the Tour de Mount Vernon Community Bike Ride also this past fall. So if you have an event that you would like for us or one of us to hold, or you'd like for us to attend, or like for us to be involved with, please let us know, whether it's in person or virtually. Let us know, and we will do our best to make it so. For those of you joining us virtually this year, I know you're asking, where can I go to get the ever-popular town meeting goodie bags? And there are some literally right outside our door as we speak. So if you go to the Mount Vernon Government Center and you want to get your goodie bag, they're right outside the door, and enjoy them. There's a lot of fantastic information in there. It is an important part of how we connect and share information with you. In 2021, we accomplished many goals despite COVID, making that energy, time, and resources difficult to spend on that. And maybe first and foremost in that, and one that I am probably most proud of, is that we saved River Farm. We saved River Farm. Yeah. That was a huge lift. That took all of us together. We had our federal folks working with us, we had our state folks working with us and getting money and resources, and we had a huge commitment by the county, as well as we had a number of not-for-profits and our regional folks. Nova Parks in particular, I wanted to acknowledge their work and efforts there. Paul Gilbert just did a fantastic job working with us. But we also had, I mentioned Rachel Flynn earlier. Rachel was very involved with working with us and looking for creative ways to solve and keep that property as a natural and a beautiful place in our community. We also reduced crime by almost 10% last year. A 10%, almost 10% reduction in crime in Fairfax County last year. That's a huge change. And contrary to what most people are hearing from around the country, we are making a difference. We have an amazing police force. Eli, thank you very much, sir, for all your work making that possible, and the many other officers. We have a fantastic police force, yeah. We are the safest jurisdiction of our size, and we have one of the lowest ratios of officers to populations. So they do more with far less than many other areas, and they keep us safe. It makes a huge difference. So again, Major, thank you very much. Hundreds of millions of dollars in COVID money, and I know that our congressmen, they're leaving now, but they were key parts of making that available to the county, and for the county in turn to distribute those dollars. So they've been a huge part of that in supporting our small businesses, our nonprofits, as well as many other residents. We completed Liberty. Liberty is the residential side of that is now done, and we're now working on the commercial side of that, and we have Lidl, which is the anchor store for Liberty Marketplace. We also worked on the PennDOT Fire Station in support of Housing Advisory Committee to choose the site for the co-located facilities that will help support not only our fire station, but also our neediest homeless, as well as supportive housing. We also broke ground on the South County Police Station and Animal Shelter, and we dedicated the Turning Point Suffragist Memorial. As well as we have affordable housing that we've added to our inventory this year. Not only the landings 1 and 2, which were acquired existing housing that's more affordable, but this year we will be opening the long-awaited North Hill affordable housing and senior housing that really will make a huge difference for us. And finally, we have the Arden, which is right next to the metro station, which will also be opening this year. And last but not least, I wanted to mention that we made some major strides in becoming a carbon-free county this past year. And the county chairman and myself and many others were deeply involved with bringing this about. And I thank the county executive and his staff for really all the huge amount of work in getting together the goals for the county itself, that we will be, the county government and schools will be carbon neutral by 2040. And the county as a whole, businesses and residents, et cetera, will be carbon neutral or carbon free by 2050. So we've got a long way to go, but we've made the commitments and the resources are following that. So thank you all very much. We have a lot to look forward in 2022, including celebrating the completion of the Lorton Community Center and Library. That's something that my predecessor started and got moved up on the bond, and we put that together with library money, and we have an amazing new facility that's going to open there. As well, we'll be finally opening the Lorton Fire Station, which is long awaited, and we will dedicate the Woodlawn Fire Station as well this year. We have an infill development task force to find ways to lessen the impacts on neighbors and neighborhoods of infill development while continuing the revitalization of our communities that's so important. The announcement of the One Richmond Highway BRT brand we will be implementing later this month, and you'll be hearing a lot more about that later this month, as well as launching Potomac Banks, which I mentioned earlier, the Visit Fairfax South brand and tourism packages. And our signature events, they're on. The Ides of Bark, March 27th, Environmental Expo, April 23rd, and then the ever popular, the Tour de Mount Vernon bike ride on October 22nd. So please join me for all of those different events. So what's next? Well, the revitalization of the Richmond Highway Corridor continues to grow with billions and frankly billions of dollars in public and private investments in our streets, housing, parks, recreation infrastructure, transportation systems to create surrounding, walkable, livable, wonderful neighborhoods along our main street. Lorton 2040 Visioning continues with a Lorton area study. There's a community survey now that's available until February 22nd on the Lorton Visioning page, which we urge everybody to take. Please share your vision for Lorton with us. We want to hear from you. Increases in all type of housing in our area, from the affordable to the luxury, are continuing every single day. Our team has also been driving economic development opportunities throughout the corridor while supporting business expansion and operations. Our district is incredibly diverse in every way. I think most of us know and feel and see that. Economically, housing, education, income, ethnicity, language, religion, you name it, we have it, and I'm dedicated to making sure that everyone who lives here or does business here have the opportunity to reach their full potential. That is what I believe is the essence of government. I believe the essence of my role in representing you. We all know that this has been another challenging year, and we are not out of the woods yet. So please, if you need support, there is support, both financial and otherwise. So let us know, and Team MVD, all of us will be there to help you. Continue to be vaccinated, wear masks, socially distance for now, until this virus becomes less prevalent and less deadly. We need to protect each other, and especially those in our community who are most vulnerable. Well, we've learned to be resilient, that's for sure. We've learned to live our lives differently, change our perception of success, zoomed from one activity to another, whether in person or virtually. But as my favorite president said, in the end, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. With that, let us all continue to make our years the best ever. Thank you. We're now going to move into our presentations, and as you've been listening, I'm going to ask the speakers to come up here, but as you've been listening to the presenters, please write your questions on the index cards that hopefully you've gotten. Include your email address and phone numbers if you can or will on the card, so that if for some reason we don't answer your question fully or we don't have a time to properly handle it, we'll have that information there and we can give you the answer. Our first speaker of the day is Chairman Jeff McKay. He has deep roots in our community, having grown up here, and has been key to our many successes this year, especially saving River Farm, continuing our efforts to underground utilities, and our county environmental commitments in progress, and so many, many, many more. Please welcome the Chairman of the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, Jeff McKay. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, sir. Well, good morning, Mount Vernon. We can do better than that. Good morning, Mount Vernon. All right, let's liven up the room a little bit. It is an absolute pleasure to be here today, and I will first say that picture that was up there of Dan and I on our bikes is a modern picture. That wasn't us many, many years ago. We are really that spry, even at this time. But I want to start really today by focusing on a couple things. One is being grateful and giving thanks, because I know as chairman of the Board of Supervisors, I've had an opportunity to see our full county on display in the most difficult times of our lifetimes in the past couple years as we've went through COVID. And so we give thanks to our healthcare workers in the county, our first responders, our teachers, our sanitation workers, our Channel 16 folks who are bringing government to people's homes throughout the pandemic. We give thanks to all the public workers throughout our county that have kept our county open every single day of COVID, serving our residents who need county services. Let's start by giving them a round of applause. And I also want to give thanks, as Dan just did, to our community in Fairfax. You know, communities that are tested and come out better, like we are going to, are places where people want to live. And sometimes we take for granted the assets and opportunities that we have in Fairfax County, and it's easy to do that, particularly in good times. But over the challenging times we have had a community across the board, our business community, our government, our residents, who have stepped up to help the most vulnerable people throughout a very trying time. And as Dan mentioned, I couldn't be prouder of the respect that people in this county have for their neighbors and vulnerable residents. And Dan shared some of the statistics. They're worth mentioning again. 90% of people in Fairfax County over the age of 18 have had at least one vaccination. 96% of people aged 16 to 17 have had at least one vaccination. 92% of people between the ages of 12 and 15 have had at least one vaccination. And 73% of all residents of Fairfax County have been fully boosted with vaccine to protect people in this community. And the statistic that I'm most proud of, because having grown up in the Route 1 corridor and seeing inequities throughout our community and through our country, is that due to the work of our equity clinics in Fairfax, over 70% of our residents in every single one of the over 40 zip codes in Fairfax County are vaccinated. Those are statistics that most communities would dream of and speak volumes about how we feel about each other and how we feel about taking services to people who need them most and how we feel about saving lives in our county. And I salute our healthcare workers, but most importantly, our residents for taking advantage of those opportunities and caring enough about the work that we do in the community. I'm also very proud of what we've done in county government over the last 2 years. I mentioned how we've been tested. With the federal money that we got from our federal elected officials, we've been able to do some amazing things. Almost $90 million in grants and support for our small, minority, women-owned, and veteran-owned businesses in Fairfax County to help them survive the turndown in the economy and the closures. Almost $90 million. The largest municipal grant program in the Commonwealth of Virginia here in Fairfax County. We started a Fairfax Founders Fund so that minority business owners could get access to capital in ways that right now banks sadly turn them down. We've put over $50 million in funding for assistance for food, rent, utilities, for people who might have lost their job, people who were struggling with loss of income or illness through COVID. We wanted to help every one of our residents get through this downturn, and we've been putting our money where our mouth is, not just saying these things, but doing them. Supporting our nonprofits. United Community has a huge presence here today. Making sure that resources and money get into the hands of people who can most effectively serve our residents. We have been doubling down on that throughout the pandemic. You know, as the first elected chair from South County in modern history, I can tell you when I look at what Dan just showed us a moment ago about what's happening in South County, I couldn't be prouder. I mentioned growing up in the Route 1 corridor, living here my entire life, and seeing what is happening to this corridor. I don't think I can emphasize this enough for our residents. Over $1 billion going into infrastructure improvements on the Route 1 corridor. And if you've lived here a long time like I have, you say it's about time. It's about time that investments and money get poured into the Route 1 corridor. And think about this. To get that kind of money supported by the county takes resolve by this Board of Supervisors. I had the honor of serving with Gerry Highland and with Supervisor Storck and Supervisor Lusk and Chairman Connolly. But I can tell you that it is unusual for the top-ranked transportation priority in the entire county for 6 straight years in a row was the Richmond Highway and BART project, and the number 2 highest priority project was the bus rapid transit component of that project. So the top 2 priorities in this entire county when it comes to transportation for the past 6 years have been making sure that we fund the $1 billion infrastructure improvement on the Route 1 corridor. Remarkable when you think about it in that context. I'm also very proud that during COVID, not only did we not close for a single day, but we have managed our budget remarkably well, cemented our AAA bond rating. We sold over $300 million in transportation bonds the last month, and we got a cemented AAA bond rating because of the outstanding fiscal management of Fairfax County. Few counties have that opportunity. But I also want to focus on a few other things, high-level board priorities. Dan mentioned North Hill. There's nothing more important to our board, especially as a result of this pandemic, than building and supporting and preserving more affordable housing. If you think about the delivery truck workers, the grocery store workers, the school training assistants, the healthcare workers in our community that literally helped us get through the last 2 years, those are the faces and people who are struggling to be able to afford housing in Fairfax County, the ones that served us through the last 2 years. And so we have over 1,800 units currently in the pipeline throughout the county of affordable housing, and most importantly, throughout the county, everywhere in the county. One of the things I have said from the beginning is that affordable housing is an opportunity for every part of the county to play a role, so that we're building housing near transit stations, we're building housing near economic centers where there's job and upward mobility opportunities. We're not just concentrating all of our affordable housing in the places that it's acceptable. We're going to force the issue and build affordable housing in all corners of the county because it's the right thing to do for our economy and it's the right thing to do morally, and our board feels very strongly about that. And we will continue to make advancements in that area. Couple smaller things. We're very, very proud of the Mount Vernon projects that are happening in South County. Whether it's the Lorton Community Center and Lorton Library that was mentioned earlier, whether it's the conversion of the Mount Vernon Racquet Club in the Lee District that serves the Route 1 corridor to make sure that we provide opportunities for our young people, whether it is the South County Police Station and Animal Shelter, all of these things that build community are county investments to improve the lives of people in South County. But one of the ones that I'm most emotional about, and I see Lisa Sales here in the front row, is the suffragist memorial that we've built. Not to some people, maybe not a big deal. To me and to many people in our community, a huge deal, not only because it is the suffragist memorial that people all over the country and all over the world can come to see, but it's built in a beautiful park where people have an opportunity to reflect on our imperfect history and how we've gotten better, but we still have work to do. Having taken my daughter to it as a middle school girl who had no concept or idea of the fact that there was a point in time in our country when women weren't allowed to vote, emotional stuff. It's emboldening all of us to make sure that we do everything we can to get people to participate in our community, and that starts with having the right to vote, and we have a memorial to tell that story here in Fairfax County because of the work of the suffragists, and so I'm very proud to have that in South County. I do want to give thanks to all of you for the opportunity to serve you. I will share a line that Gerry Connolly left here, but he used to always say when he came to my district when I was lead district supervisor, he used to always end his comments by telling people, if you're unhappy with your district supervisor, never forget you have two supervisors if you live in Fairfax County, your district supervisor and the chairman. And I'm sure you're never unhappy with Supervisor Storck. I know I am never unhappy with Supervisor Storck, but every resident of Fairfax County is represented by two supervisors, their district supervisor and chairman, and so my office is here also to serve you. Please sign up for our newsletter. Take advantage of getting information to your email routinely about what's happening in Fairfax County. Reach out to my office if there's anything we can ever do to support you. And in the end, let's all think about, as we move forward, just being kind to one another. You know, it doesn't take a lot. We've been through a lot the last couple of years. Let's be kind to our school board, who has had challenges and has dealt with things that none of us would ever want to deal with. Let's be kind to our elected officials, our neighbors, our public servants, our people who are all here in Fairfax County trying to do the same thing, right? Improve their lives, improve the lives of their family. So be kind to each other. Please reach out to me if there's anything my office can ever do to support you in my beloved South County and Mount Vernon community. But God bless you all. Thank you, sir. You want me to sit here, sir?
You can do either. I'll leave it up to you, sir. Thank you, Jeff. The next person that we were going to have speak today is the county executive for Fairfax County. That's Bryan Hill. Going into our third year of COVID has been a challenge very much aligned with Bryan's strength of adaptable, flexible responses and leadership. As someone who deeply loves the game of basketball, both he and I, we talk about it all the time, and the constant flow of players and adaptations required for success, his roots are as a successful collegiate basketball player have greatly prepared him well for the constant changes and the buzzer-beating three-point shots that are sometimes needed to keep Fairfax County and our community a winning team. Thank you, Bryan, for your attention, visits, continued support for our Mount Vernon District residents and businesses. Please welcome our County Executive, Bryan Hill.
You know I'm always going to hug you. Well, good morning. Yeah, Jeff, I think they're asleep in Mount Vernon today. Good morning. All right. You know, Chairman McKay talked about being kind to everybody, but you notice he didn't mention my name at all. And I got a couple of text messages from my favorite, one of my favorites. I shouldn't say favorite because this is probably on video, right? Well, from my favorite Mount Vernon supervisor last night, and I kind of chuckled. Yesterday afternoon, actually, I kind of chuckled. And I thought about all of the things that we are doing together. Even though his text message was kind of eye-opening to me because I scratched my head and said, I signed that. Why is he texting me about something I've already signed? And that's because he is so passionate about what he does for the residents of Mount Vernon, and more importantly, for the residents of Fairfax County. So I want to thank you, sir. I look forward to that board matter, though, because that's going to be a good one. Mm-hmm. No, please don't do that. Anyway, thinking about COVID, about March 16th, I was in the airport picking up my mother from Dominica, and I called the chairman and said, you know, something's just not right. And I was on the phone with the chairman for about an hour, and I said, I'm not going to Dominica, I'm going to stay here in Puerto Rico. And I called my mother and I said, I'll meet you in Puerto Rico, because I was fearful that something was not right. And the day that she got to Puerto Rico, I picked her up and we went back home. The next day, everything shut down. I was fearful for what was happening in our country. But to support us moving forward, the federal government, Congressman Connolly, Congressman Beyer, the CARES Act funding that they provided us helped us get through this. We have really uplifted our staff, we have uplifted our infrastructure, and we've made Fairfax County even better and stronger and more resilient than we were. When you look at where we are today versus where we were 3 years ago, as your county executive, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, how in the heck did we get through this? As Jeff McKay stated, the chairman of the board stated, we did not close. I swear to you, I don't think I've left my office in 3 years. But it's a labor of love as a public servant. The many individuals that work here in Fairfax County have moved forward. Eli Corey has done a great job with the police. John Butler has done a great job with fire and rescue. We have basically banded together our DPWES staff who were out and working hard every day, have not taken off, have not been able to telework. And speaking about telework, assistance from a distance. We have had to absolutely transform how county government is provisioned and delivered to each and every one of you in this audience, as well as the remaining 1.2 million Fairfax County residents that expect excellence. Obviously, commercial is the lifeblood of where we are. Commercial development is the lifeblood where we are. But it's key to understand that we must take care of the residents first. The list of accomplishments and things that we have done in Mount Vernon can be amplified in 8 other districts because of the stewardship afforded to you by your chair and your district supervisors. They make my job easy. Not really. Not really. I got 11,000 emails that I haven't answered yet, but it's okay. It's okay. If they want to know what I don't do, they can just look at my email inbox. But I got to tell you, operational changes, the IT enhancements that we have made to ensure that we can provision services led by Greg Scott and his team, completely changing our servers. We had 3,500 servers in Fairfax County managing everything. We're down to under 1,000 because we have changed how we do business. And if government can't change and pivot and be spry, government gets left behind, and then you have situations where you cannot catch up. I thank you both for allowing me the opportunity to be a little different, obviously a lot different, but to push the envelope, to work with our school board, to work with our superintendent, who is leaving us in June. Has been an absolute pleasure to work with. We don't always agree with how we move forward, but we get to yes. As I stated, and as Supervisor Storck stated about tourism, we were so close to having 2 nations, 1 vacation, which was our attempt to have folks in England come visit Mount Vernon, and vis-a-vis folks from Mount Vernon and Fairfax County go to England. 2 vacations, 2 locations, 1 vacation. We were about to strike a deal with United Airlines for direct flight service from Manchester into Dulles. And we had a tour set up with Visit Fairfax, and I want to say thank you to Barry Biggers for that. These are the things that are out-of-the-box thinking that we were trying to do prior to the pandemic, and I'm going to say this to you today. These are the things that we're going to continue to do and strive for after the pandemic, during the pandemic, continuing on. The pandemic, to me, was an opportunity for us to think about and do things differently and to absolutely change how we do business in Fairfax County. I do want to close by saying that we have a strategic plan, which is also a change in Fairfax County. We have 10 strategic initiatives that we are implementing to ensure that we prioritize how we get our businesses done, how we get our business done. That is overlined. That has a lining of One Fairfax, which is 17 principles. Access and equity for all. This is the rubric of how we have a stronger community. Allowing people to uplift themselves and move forward in our community, our great community, is key. And you hear the supervisors and you hear the chairman speak about One Fairfax. My job when I came here to Fairfax County, per the chairman, was to figure out a way to help implement that One Fairfax policy. And with the strategic plan moving forward, access and equity is in every intentional decision-making that we do in Fairfax County today. I want to say thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak today. I want to say thank you to everybody that's here and everybody that's listening. And I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. See, that's the one thing you didn't do with Mrs. Storck. I saw that. So everybody, please, please, stay safe, stay masked up, get your booster. If you haven't, get your vaccine. I'm very proud to say 92% of Fairfax County employees are vaccinated and boosted. Booster we're working on, but we have to continue moving forward. This is not over, but it is manageable if we work together. Thank you so much.
Well done. Thank you, sir.
Always a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Bryan. I'd like next to have you please welcome our George Washington Parkway Superintendent and my good friend of the Mount Vernon District of Charles Cuvelier. And Charles and I have been working together on lots of different things over the last couple of years. In particular, he has worked to try to reinvigorate, if you will, Fort Hunt Park. We think it's a wonderful opportunity, as well as to get the Parkway more connected with all of us and hopefully have it be a safer place for all of us. In particular for the Fort Hunt Park, we have an environmental expo, which we did for the first time last fall, which we had a great success, very well attended. We're looking forward to having another wonderful year of frankly, all the new people and new connections, teaching opportunities that it provides. But the other thing I would say in the picture that you're seeing up there is the wonderful support the personal support that he provided for our Tour de Mount Vernon held last fall. He was there working the table every single moment and got a chance to meet, I know, many Fairfax County individuals, because they were frankly all there, but also a way to, if you will, give back to our community. And he's given us so much, but at least in this way, he was also giving personally to our Mount Vernon team as well as the community. So Charles, thank you very much for being here and welcome.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, sir. Oh. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dan. I so much appreciate that. Chairman McKay as well. The generous support we get from Fairfax County is deeply appreciated. I do want to say, though, support doesn't always mean just, going along. I will tell you that the comment earlier about accountability, they do actually hold me accountable to doing the best I can as a public servant, which sometimes involves making sure the community's voices are heard. So I appreciate that, sir. What I want to do just briefly here is kind of give you a view of the park from the superintendent's seat, if you will. A little bit about okay. Your tech guy's going to have to work on that. That's okay. Oh, there it goes. View from the park. So my responsibilities extend from Great Falls up in the North Fairfax County all the way down to Mount Vernon here in South Fairfax County. On the other side of the river, the Clara Barton Parkway and the Clara Barton National Historic Site. All the legislatively designated areas from Congress that make up the George Washington Memorial Parkway. Yogi Berra, next slide, please. Yogi Berra is credited with saying, if you don't know where you're going, any direction will get you there. What we've tried to do at the park is kind of give 4 emphasis areas to our direction, building off our park strategic plan. Your voice matters and robust workforce speaks kind of internally to our workforce. Externally, stewardship and partnership is what we do each and every day in partnership. At the end of this is the park web address or email address. If there's something you want more information on, you can email me. But we post our strategic plan, we post our priorities and actions on the web. A big thing that guides us is our planning efforts. Specifically to South County, we've been involved with the Mount Vernon Trail Corridor Study on the Mount Vernon Trail and the Traffic and Safety Context Sensitive Solutions. Why are these important? As resource stewards, we are responsible for the cultural landscape, the natural landscape, and these really inform our decision making and drive our priorities, drive our investments, and where we can go after competitively within the National Park Service the monies that are available. Next slide, please. 2020, as we wrapped up 2020, resulted in the completion of projects that result in about $290 million of reinvestment in the park. I'm very pleased with that. Specific to South Fairfax includes Dyke Marsh Phase 1, notably the promontory that was built, which was a historic property, but due to gravel operations before acquisition by the Park Service, had eroded away or been eliminated. So we've reconstructed that as a buffer for waves and for storm action as a result of some work that was done in studies following hurricanes. Other projects notable for us in the local area include the Arlington Memorial Bridge, a $200 million project completed on time and under budget. Really pleased with that. Next slide. As we move forward into 21 and 22, as we just completed the South Parkway striping, part of the safety improvements, we are certainly embedded with the Mount Vernon Combined Citizens Association. We're regularly attending their meetings and seeking community feedback. We know there are pluses and minuses, and we're attentive to that as well. We're initiating Dyke Marsh Phase 2, some additional work to stabilize the marsh. That'll start late this summer as we're in a window of time where we can't be in the river to protect the fish species. And as was shared earlier by Congressman Beyer, we're going to start work on Bridge 12. We number all our bridges on the Mount Vernon Trail, this one being most close to Waynesboro down there. The other thing is we're interconnected with the county on a number of different levels, projects that are being initiated by the county or state or local. And so every day we're involved in some kind of planning and partnership efforts, and you can see many of those on the right-hand side. One of the filters we bring to that, one of the responsibilities we bring to that, to ensure that the projects are compatible with both what the individuals want to do, or organizations want to do, and what it is our responsibilities of protecting National Park Service resources. Next slide. We just reopened in June of this past year the Arlington House after a $12 million renovation through the generosity of philanthropist David Rubenstein. Next slide. Really reimagining the themes, and what we're really proud of is our work with the descendant community to tell a more holistic story, and particularly that of the enslaved community, which are connected to here in Mount Vernon, the Mount Vernon estate, the Mount Vernon history. George Washington Parke Custis as an adopted grandson of George Washington. Next slide, please. Arlington House there, our foundation, has done a phenomenal job of enriching the story in the virtual space. It's been the largest curatorial project in National Park Service history in terms of in-house talent, where we've recurated over 1,000 objects that are on display. And we have on loan from the family various objects like the James Park bust, the autograph book from the Syfax family. So we're really delighted about that relationship that has been fostered throughout this project and continues to this day. Next slide. Volunteerism. We're excited about kind of a rebound in volunteerism as it relates to COVID-19. Certainly the public space, green space, outdoor space has been helpful to provide for volunteerism, but everybody was kind of adjusting, as we all have throughout this. Our friends of Dyke Marsh, our friends of Mount Vernon Trail are kind of our anchors to volunteerism down here in South Parkway. It contributes to about $500,000 of in-kind work in the park. And that's pretty phenomenal, and I think we deserve a thank you for the community for what they provide. Next slide. We just announced in December one of our major projects being funded under the Great American Outdoor Act, which is the North Parkway Rehabilitation. It'll be from Spout Run to the Capitol Beltway, about $160 million reinvestment in the reconstruction of that road. So a few interruptions over the next couple of months as the design team is out there doing surveys and the like, but we think that project will be getting in earnest once the phase 1 design work is completed. It is a design build, and it'll take a couple of years to accomplish. But really to address some of the failing infrastructure of a park that is, in some cases, 90 years old, like we are here in South County. Next slide. What do we see on the near horizon? We have, related to Fort Hunt, we're in the design phase of the playground, which we intend to replace once we get the design phase done into construction, so over the next couple of years. We are recipients of a Smart Scale grant that will help with the north end of the Mount Vernon Trail. We need to work on the compliance. That's the stewardship responsibilities of meeting federal law for the National Environmental Policy Act and the National Historic Preservation Act. And that's important to do as a precursor to any work we could do on South Parkway. Zone 1 is the South Parkway, South County version of the trail, and we're trying to package a project that we could do in the future as well, but that is yet to be funded. And we're trying to partner with the Army Corps of Engineers to do some initial studies related to dredging in our marinas to make those more accessible. Partnerships here in South County, or in Fairfax County, we're involved with the land exchange with the county for Langley Oaks and Langley Forks. We're a part of the Metropolitan Council of Governments coastal storm risk study that probably is going to have some relationship to the Belhaven area. And then the partnerships that we've talked about. The Mount Vernon Council of Citizens Associations, the Environmental Expo, Supervisor Storck has already mentioned, and the South County Tourism Task Force and the partnerships we can have. Just want to point out the infrastructure and the benefits of the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Great American Outdoor Act. In this competitive space, the Park Service has about $12 billion of infrastructure need. So it's highly competitive, and we have to kind of sit in that seat, if you will, of advocating for our needs. And they really are 4 drivers for that. It's about investing in our infrastructure, restoring our park roadways, enhancing recreational access, and using leveraging opportunities so we can maintain these things over time. Next slide, please. Give you a sense of some of the projects we've put in for and are trying to compete for across the park: the trails, Fort Hunt, Claire Barton, Great Falls, South Parkway. When the federal government publishes its budget, that is when we become apprised of whether our projects have been successful. So if you go back and look at the FY21 budget, you'll see the North Parkway project. If you look in FY22, you'll see there are none there. And so we weren't successful in that round. And the FY23 budget, of course, is currently before Congress for consideration. Next slide, please. And there, if you have further details, you have questions, you have follow-up, you can write us here at the park at the email address gwmp_superintendent@nps.gov, or you can go to our website, nps.gov/gwmp, and we'll be happy to address your concerns or questions. Supervisor Storck, I can't say enough, appreciate the opportunity to come before you. We're excited as we approach into this next year, potentially $500 million of reinvestment in the park. And we are appreciative of that for the support you give us and the needs that are made known so we can advocate on your behalf. Thanks again, sir. Appreciate it.
Well done. Thank you very much. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Superintendent Cuvelier. I can't say enough about this partnership and how central it is to Mount Vernon District. This, it's really the thread of our community is all on the river, and it's a key part of what the George Washington Memorial Parkway folks do, as well as the importance to us of the environmental and natural pleasures that it gives all of us. As somebody who runs and bikes and walks that area regularly, it's a key part of what I find most enjoyable about the Mount Vernon District. So we're now on to the first question and answer session. For those Q&As, we will be taking questions through the note cards. I've asked each presenter to group similar questions and read them out loud before answering. So if you could please read the questions out loud before answering, then folks know that at least their question was heard or seen, and then we can respond. Ultimately, you can respond to several of them together. But if I could have the presenters come up on stage here, and we'll go ahead and get started. Just please have a seat, and I'm going to sit down there with you, and we're going to look for the first. I think I'm going to take this off when I speak, but the first question I have, and if we can maybe just answer a question or two and just go down the row, and I'll take one to get started, and then we'll go from there. First question is, when will the new police station in Lorton open? And that question is basically 2023 is the expected date at this point in time. It will change the police districts. I've seen some preliminary maps of how it might change the districts. They've not been finalized yet, so we would look for those districts to probably come out sometime, maybe later this year, to give us a better idea. So, thank you. Jeff, you want to go ahead and grab it?
Sure. I have a question about tax relief. Why hasn't Fairfax County raised the total net financial worth to $920,000? Like Loudoun County did for seniors? And I will say that this was my motion this year, and supported by Supervisor Storck and the board, that for the first time in 15 years, we reevaluated the criteria for senior tax relief, and we raised the income from $72,000 to $90,000, the net worth from $340,000 to $400,000. But most importantly, we did two other things. We allowed people to exclude acreage that couldn't be subdivided to protect it from being redeveloped, but also to not have that count towards the net worth of their property value. And most importantly, we set up a program that allows seniors to defer taxes that would be collected at a future date with a modest interest attached to it, but would allow them to manage their finances better, to defer those taxes and then have those payable at the time the property is sold. And so we've never had that component in senior tax relief. For 15 years, the assets and income were stuck where they were, and this board recognized that with soaring assessments, that was having creating a significant challenge, especially for folks on fixed incomes who bought their houses a long time ago and have seen their values soar and just want to remain in their homes and to have a situation that's affordable. And so that's why we raised the assets and why we created a program that allowed for the tax deferral as well. I can't speak for Loudoun County, as I will just say that when we looked at the tax relief programs across the region, our tax relief program is very competitive with all the jurisdictions in the region.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, my turn. This is actually addressed to you, but I think they gave it to me because Fairfax County has 130 plus vacant police positions. How do you plan to fill them? Our safety depends on it. And I absolutely agree with our safety depends on it. When you look at what we're doing as a community, Supervisor Storck did a quick overview, as well as the chairman, about crime, our crime rate being down 10%. That's due to the fact that we have great police officers and we have a new way and a new philosophy of policing. When you look at our vacancy rates, people retire, and we've had an influx of people retiring. However, we have 3 to 4 police recruit classes going on at the same time. So we're trying to stabilize as we move forward. With South County coming on, we are hiring for South County as we speak right now, which is also incorporated into the 130 vacancies. However, South County's not open. So when we look at what we're doing in Fairfax County, we're really trying to systematically get people in place for when the openings are occurring. I have a problem with recruitment throughout Fairfax County. It's just not police. As they said, the great resignation, I think it's the great reaffirmation. People have decided that they want to do things differently. And as you heard me speak about what we're doing in Fairfax County, we're changing how we're doing things. We are also being different. So we have plans in place for our CDL drivers, our police officers, our fire and rescue, our planners, our engineers. You see how expansive and how we have to look at all positions throughout our county. And I think we have a great Department of Human Resource staff that are looking at new ways of doing things. And if you go on, I'll give you one example. We recruit on LinkedIn. We were the first county to start doing that. That was 2.5 years ago, and we're starting to see the benefits of it. I can put a post out there and I'll get 15,000 hits on that one post. So we're looking at things differently. We're looking at things more proactively. And most importantly, we're looking at things more creatively. And when a person like myself does creative things, it bristles my friends to the right a bit, because that's not the way we've always done it, but they get it that we have to do it differently. And I hope I answered your question, whoever Mr. Tom is. I think it's Tom. Tom, yes? Good? Thank you. Okay.
The question I have is, how are you addressing flooding issues across the Parkway? I make reference to one study that's done and one study that's underway to inform what we might do. The park has a floodplain study that was completed that's part of our climate change documents, and again, you can email us, we'll get you the proper link, and it identified high-risk zones. That document would inform future projects for stormwater management. The other one, as I mentioned, the Metropolitan Council of Governments has commissioned a study with the Army Corps of Engineers. It's kind of a revival of a study that was dormant for a couple years, and they're looking at risk areas both in Fairfax County and along the Parkway. So that study has yet to be published. I think they're still in their scoping phase, but that will be something to be mindful of for South County. Either one or both of those could inform really stormwater management under funding we could receive under the bipartisan infrastructure law or under the Great American Outdoor Act should we get to a place where we do improvements to the South Parkway.
Thank you, Charles. I have a question. What can be done about the late evening night speeders on Poe Road and Jeff Todd Way? There's a couple things that we've been working on. First and foremost, we have a program called RTAP. It's a way of reducing the speed on roads, and we actually have a community engagement right now, and I believe there's some additional, there will be some, I think we approved it the other day. I'm looking for Peyton. We approved the speed bumps and some other.
The $200 fines.
Oh, right, thank you. So we did identify signs that are posted there where there's additional penalties for speeding on that road. And we, of course, are looking for our Mount Vernon District Police Station traffic enforcement and other officers to be patrolling that road more frequently. The other one, I'm going to do two of them. The second one is the back gate off Mount Vernon Memorial Highway finally open? And that's the gate that's the Walker Gate into Fort Belvoir. The answer is no. Colonel Seagraves, because it's a Fort Belvoir, a DOD responsibility, Colonel Seagraves has identified they're still, I guess, haven't finished putting the new bridge that they have to build there to be able to open that up and provide that access into Fort Belvoir. So I'm not sure what that timing is. You provide us with your email address, we'll send you a more formal response that we could get from Fort Belvoir about the timing on the gate opening. Thank you.
Okay. I have a question. How will the surplus in the school budget be used? Will it be considered as a possible reduction in future personal property taxes? And the answer to that is, we, of course, in Fairfax County are required to have a balanced budget every year, annually. It's a state code requirement. And as I mentioned earlier, we are a AAA bond rated county, which means that we're exceptional when it comes to financial management. When we make our decision to make a financial transfer to the schools to pay for over 70% of their budget, and I might add it's in large part because the state dramatically underfunds public education, so the lion's share of education costs, well over 70%, fall on Fairfax County, and one of our only sources of revenue is real estate taxes. And so when we make a transfer to the schools, we're always careful to transfer to them what we think is necessary for their operations, but also be cognizant always of what the tax rate is and how that affects property owners, especially with rising assessments. And so we work throughout the year collaboratively with the school board on these budget issues. And if at the end of the year there is a surplus, first of all, there needs to be, because we can't run a deficit in a balanced budget environment. If there is a surplus, that's all factored in as a starting year balance for the next year. There is a provision in state law that allows county boards to ask for that money back. To me, that's almost a ludicrous thing, because at the end of the day, it's the same pot of money. So when we factor in the transfer next year, we factor in what the starting year balance is on the school system in coming up with what the annual transfer is. But the other thing I just want to emphasize is that a lot of folks have said, why isn't the school budget a lot lower? Because there's fewer kids in it as a result of COVID. And, our per pupil costs don't really work that way, because even if there is a reduction in school age population, it's not always in one grade in one classroom at one school, and therefore you can reduce a teacher. Doesn't work that way. Most of the school budget is in personnel, and we're struggling to be able to find people. I know the school board is working on this every single day, trying to find people to come in to work in the school system. And so one of the things that's going to happen in this next budget that we're going to see and we need to be prepared for, Bryan was mentioning worker shortages. Anyone who watches the news nationally knows that this is an issue everywhere in the country. trying to fill vacant positions. And we are having sticker shock, like everywhere else in the country, with what it costs to be able to hire, recruit, and most importantly, retain people in all of our positions in the county, including in the schools. And so you're going to see in this next budget, whatever the surplus is at the end of the year is most definitely going to be reinvested into the workforce and the employees that are necessary to both run the school system and the county government.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question from, I can't pronounce or can't read the last name, but I'll just say, please tell me when true equitable services will be in South County region of Fairfax. All referrals for help get put to LCAC, and we deserve the same services as the rest of the county. I agree with that, especially dental care for seniors. Been told since 2008 county we're going to improve services to the south end of the county. I will say she also wrote thank you, which I appreciate. I'm going to ask that I speak with you before I leave so I can get a better context of what's being missed. What we have now with our Department of Family Services, Michael Beckett's is a new hire. He's been here a little over a year. He is an advocate of health and human services for all. He provides a great service to our community. I'm going to get with him to understand, and you, to understand what is missing down in South County. We are not a provision of the service. We absolutely get you to the service, but if we need to work with Supervisor Storck to bring more kind of businesses down here to support, that's what we need to do. That's a commercial thing. So I'm going to try and figure out, Christine, I'm going to get her, we're going to either call her or you can help me with the email, but we will directly address that question so I have a better context.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bryan.
So the one I have next says, will there be other changes to the GW Parkway? I'm assuming we're talking the Motor Road. What we're doing right now is working with the Mount Vernon Combined Citizens Association and kind of walking through the safety study with them in partnership and getting some feedback from them as to what they think is a value add as potential next steps. There's not a project currently stood up and funded, so we're engaging this time to work with the Citizens Association. So I'd encourage you, if you're not part of their distribution list, we're primarily working with the public safety and the traffic subcommittees, and they've been very value added to this.
Thanks, Charles. Thank you, Charles. Panhandlers on Lorton and Silverbrook Road, hazard in the street, yelling between cars, walking. It's gone on for 4 years. Please do something. Anybody who's ever been to any of our Board of Supervisor meetings knows that this issue has been ongoing, one that there's no easy solution to because the Supreme Court has made it clear that we do not have a right to keep people from exercising their constitutional right to free speech. There is a safety issue, which is truly in how we ultimately look at this. If it's a safety issue, if somebody's out in the roadway and is creating a hazard, that clearly becomes a police issue and can be addressed that way. It is difficult, but it is something that we are committed, and I know our police are committed to addressing something that's a safety hazard. If they're a threat to themselves or others, that ultimately becomes an issue that we can respond to as well. So we know it's an issue. If for particular times of day and particular days of the week, et cetera, please make sure that's shared with us. We will in turn advise, particularly for Silverbrook Road, since we're talking about the West Springfield Police Station at this point in time, get them involved. In the future, that would be a part of our Lorton Police Station. Jeff?
Okay. I have a question. How are supporting and finding funding to underground utilities on Richmond Highway? Will you vote yes? I could have the rest of the afternoon to talk about this one. I will just say that I absolutely support undergrounding utilities. That's not the question. Supervisor Storck and I have always said that we support that. The question is, how do we get to the finish line? And therein lies the significant challenge. I mentioned earlier about this being our #1 and #2 funding priority. We have collected over $500 million for the Route 1 Embark program. We are applying for federal funds for the BRT system, and the criteria for getting federal funds is you must be competitive nationwide, and the cost of that project has to be competitive. The state, unfortunately, when they widen roadways, do not include undergrounding of utilities costs. They only include the cost of relocating utilities. NVTA, the transportation authority that provides the money that we have requested from the state for the road widening program, also is a competitive funding source, and cost is a major factor, and they too do not include undergrounding of utilities. So the challenge is it's a significant cost on top of the over $1 billion cost that Dan and I have to make sure we get 6 votes on the Board of Supervisors always to support. The state has not brought direct funding to the table to support this program. The county will inherit at the end of the project significant in perpetuity cost. I mean, who do you think operates the BRT? It will cost us millions of dollars a year to operate the BRT system. It will cost us millions of dollars to maintain the stormwater facilities, the streetscape. All the components of the Route 1 Embark project will be borne by the county in perpetuity. And so we have always supported this. The challenge is finding a way to fund it. The bill that was approved in Richmond to help with this was not the tool that we needed. It was like handing me a rake to shovel snow. Ultimately, what the state gave us was the right to levy a tax on businesses and on individuals on their utility bills countywide to pay for undergrounding of the Route 1 corridor. And the challenge with that is it would take us many years to accumulate the revenue necessary to pay for it. We have to post this amount at the beginning of the project. And as you might imagine, there are people in other parts of the county, especially in a pandemic, that aren't really keen on raising utility rates for everyone in the county when it could be decades before the next undergrounding project is approved. And so we are continuing to work on this issue. Dan and I have regular conversations with the county executive and others to look at funding sources. At a minimum, we know that if this is not funded with this project, we do have funding to dramatically improve the visibility of the utility lines along the Route 1 corridor, so they're much better coordinated. We can strategically underground them, perhaps in some areas if we can't do the entire corridor, but we're looking at other solutions to be able to make this happen. But what I don't want to do, and I've never wanted to do, is add a cost to these 2 projects that would make them ineligible for federal and state funding, which would mean we'd have no funding to do the over $1 billion Embark program. And so it's a fine line, that we're trying to walk here to try to get the best outcome we possibly can for the highway. We recognize this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the highway, but we also recognize that it is a giant, giant cost borne today and borne in perpetuity by the county making an investment in the Route 1 corridor. And so what I promise is that I have always supported it. What I promise is we will continue to try to work on a solution. If there's one available, we will look under every rock to try to find a solution and continue to work on this.
Jeff, if you can do one more quickly, because I know this will be our last go through. If you have any other question there that you can respond to very quickly. Otherwise, I would ask the same of the last 2 individuals.
I do not. I only had 3.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
My question is from Ms. Kessler. Have you gone to eviction court? No, not. No, I don't think my mom might have. What are you doing?
I think they mean the county.
Oh, okay. What are you doing to increase efficiency with rental assistance? I will say this to Ms. Kessler and to everybody listening. We average about $2.3 million a month in emergency rental assistance in Fairfax County. I will say that we started off pretty slowly because we had to figure out how to take the funding that we had and get it to the people in need. We've had 2,300 families that have requested emergency rental assistance to date. And again, $2,300,000 per month is what we're at. We're one of the few counties that were able to absolutely hit the cap to allow us to get more federal funding. Many counties were unable to meet the needs of emergency rental assistance. And if you're having trouble with it, I'm going to email you, or I will email you, and I'll make sure that if you're having a problem with emergency rental assistance, you know where to go within Fairfax County to get it done. Sarah Allen has done a absolutely amazing job in Neighborhood and Community Services with this, and we get weekly updates on where we are and how many people we're serving and where we're serving, because it's about One Fairfax, it's about the equity lens, and we're trying to pinpoint where our trouble spots are so we can make sure that everybody gets the directed services that they need. So, Ms. Kessler, I will email you and ask you a little bit more questions, and I'll get you to the right person if this is for you. And if it's for somebody else, please let us know, and we'll get you to the right people. Thank you.
Dan, if I may, because it ties into Bryan's question and the question you got about panhandling, we did get some good news. The board did just yesterday, and it's fresh. That's why I wanted to share it, is that despite the pandemic and all the housing challenges, because of the programming we have in the county, we have successfully moved over 175 individuals and families who before COVID were homeless into transitional housing in this COVID period with some of the federal funds and support of our nonprofits that we've had in the community. And so while most places in the country are seeing surges in the number of homeless people, we have been able to move a remarkable number of people from the woods and being homeless or living in their cars into transitional housing. And that's really a testament to the work that our staff has done and having the resources to be able to do that. So it's pretty remarkable thing given the times that we're living in.
Thank you.
If I may extend a note of gratitude for county, because we deal with homeless encampments in the park, and we completely rely upon the county to help those individuals get incorporated into county services and find a way out of that. So whether it's Fairfax or Arlington County, without what you're describing, Chairman McKay, all of us experience this in different places. So thank you, and thank you for what your team is doing. Couple of communications. How can I get more information? So for the Bridge 12 question, it's just below Waynewood Boulevard. That's where that project will go. You'll see some work beginning next week as they logistically set things in motion for that. Be about a year-long construction project. If you're looking for Parkway construction information, North Parkway and South Parkway, you can find that on our website. We've got subpages that are totally devoted to what's going on South Parkway and what will be going on the North Parkway as that project kicks off in earnest in the near future.
You got them covered. Any other quick hits on that? Or you pretty much, you covered you good? Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Well, thank you all very much for taking a few minutes and answering questions. We know there were probably more, but there are a couple more that we'll be getting probably in the next session, but we thank you all very much for being here today and being part of our Mount Vernon District community, our 35th annual.
Thank you all.
Y'all have a great afternoon.
Appreciate it. It's good.
Thank you, son. Good. Charles, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move right on to the next portion of our program. And I want to welcome our Karen Corbett Sanders, our Mount Vernon District School Board member and longtime school advocate. Karen is an incredible advocate for our schools and ensuring that all our kids are equitably supported and developed. We built a strong team that gets results for our community. We've worked together for decades now. And with that, I welcome Karen Corbett Sanders. Thank you.
So I can still say, good morning, Mount Vernon. Good morning. And before I get started, I want everybody to stand up and do the 11th inning stretch. because I know everybody has heard a lot this morning, but we do need to get moving a little, and I don't want anybody to fall asleep. Also, before I get started, I want to introduce Shayna Brunson, who is my staff aide, who is available to assist constituents anytime with specific education issues here in Fairfax County and Mount Vernon. Dan, thank you for your kind introduction. It truly has been a partnership of over 2 decades, and it's been a partnership that's been built around a shared focus on the importance of educating every child and making sure that every child has access to opportunities here in Mount Vernon. It's so much fun to be here today. I know many of you spent time in the cafeteria or along the hallway talking to our students and other community advocates about all the great things that are going on here in our community. The reason that happens is because of the spirit of Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon really is an area which focuses on the strong partnerships between community organizations, governmental organizations, schools, and most importantly, partnering with parents as they as we work with them to help their children achieve their aspirations. And this week it's particularly poignant because we're celebrating a trifecta of important issues or important events in our nation. First is that we have Black History Month, being February, and here in Mount Vernon, we have a very rich Black history. And what we are doing in our schools and in our community is making sure that people know about that history and that we embrace and lift up all of the successes of our brilliant Black scientists, innovators, medical professionals who helped invent the COVID vaccine, and many more. But it's also important because it's part of our history that we want to teach and tell the story about the good and the bad, because if we don't teach our history, we end up repeating history, and we know we don't want to do that. The second event this week is actually Public Schools Week across the nation. And here in Virginia, we have a proud history of public schools. Many people don't realize that Virginia was the first state in the United States to actually incorporate into its Constitution the promise of public education for every child in the Commonwealth. And that was put in as a result of as part of Reconstruction and goes back to the Constitution of 1870. So it's really important as we talk about public instruction and public schools that we celebrate that Virginia has that time-honored tradition of embracing public education. The third event this week is celebrating 125 years of PTA, parent-teacher organizations. And why do I say that? Because there's been a lot of chatter about parent voice and whether or not parents are part of the educational process. And I am here to say that 125 years in, we are proud to continue that promise of partnering with parents and teachers to advance the needs of public education. So Chairman McKay got a question about the school budget. So I think it's important for people to understand a little bit about Fairfax County Public Schools. FCPS is the largest school division in the state of Virginia and is the 11th largest school division in the United States. It has 199 schools and centers, including 142 elementary schools, 23 middle schools, 3 secondary schools, and 24 high schools, as well as 7 special education centers. When we began the budgeting process this year, we estimated that the fiscal year 23 projected enrollment would be relatively flat to where we began this year, which was a decrease over prior years as a result of COVID, and that was at 177,570 students. I'm proud to say that people are coming back. Fairfax County is honoring its education promise to all students, and we, as of the beginning of February, had over 180,000 students in our schools. The overwhelming majority attending every day in person. We do have a very small cohort of medically fragile students who are participating in a virtual education, but overall it's 180,000 students, and they come back into our buildings because they know they're safe and that their children are safe to come to school. As far as our students, we have a student body that comes from 204 countries, and they speak over 200 languages in their homes. We have 24,391 full-time employees, and 92% of them are school-based. Our student demographics are 38.5% white, 25.9% Hispanic, 19.6% Asian American, 10% African American and Black, and 5.8% representing 2 or more races. As a percentage of our projected enrollment, over 31.6% of our students depend on our schools for free meals, free and reduced meals, and 19% receive ESOL services. 27,000 students have IEPs, and with the addition of those students who have 504 plans for special accommodations, it makes up almost 20% of our student body. Let's be clear, the past few years has not been easy. It hasn't been easy for our community, it hasn't been easy for our schools. But I am proud of the work that our educators have done. They were able to start bringing our students back, our most vulnerable students back, in the fall of 1920, being in October, and we started in-person instruction in March of 2021. We opened our schools this year with in-person learning, and we do continue to face the challenges of recovering from what has been a global pandemic. Those challenges are with the needs of our students to catch up academically, but also to serve them as the whole child, which means that we have to address the social emotional needs as well. All doing so, we've had great successes. Our students continue to excel. We have increased our graduation rates continuously for the past 5 years, and this year our graduation rate for on-time graduation rates are 94.6%. That exceeds the rest of the state and the nation. 68.5% of our students are earning advanced academic diplomas. 73% of our graduates have taken at least one advanced class in AP, IB, or dual enrollment. And our SAT scores have outpaced the state and the nation, with 1201 being the average score. Our class of 2021 earned $119,922,000 in scholarships. Do you know what that means, guys? That means that money stays in Fairfax County instead of going elsewhere. And it doesn't include the money associated with the the credits these students achieve or earn. There's lots more going on in our schools, which includes the reinvention of many of the ways that we do educate our children. A lot of that has been led by a better understanding of the impact of some of our old curriculum. And that includes introducing the science of reading so that we focus on early literacy. And by focusing on early literacy, we don't then end up over-identifying children for special needs. We've adopted a program for the John Lewis program at John R. Lewis High School, which is for leadership and public service. We've also just this week expanded our curriculum on preventing gun violence and gun safety, which I introduced in 2019. That curriculum has been expanded as a result of a modification that I made this week on ghost guns. We were also, I'm very pleased that we were also able to get the full support of the board to introduce Title IX curriculum for K through 12. We need our children to understand from a very early age what harassment and assault is, what consent means and doesn't mean, and how bystanders can assist our young people who are subjected to these type of assaults. The other piece of this programming is, and I am looking at one of my favorite students, is that we've got a student advisory committee that will be established to help us develop this curriculum. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason we did these things is because of the close relationship and hearing our students and our parents express concerns. We've also, as a result of that, revamped our approach to social media and how it is used and weaponized for threats in our schools, and making sure that we are effectively dealing with those. I have an end sign, so I'm not going to continue on. I will answer lots of questions, but I do want to thank each and every one of you for your commitment to our children and our children's success. Even if you don't have students in our schools, we know of your commitment because, as Chairman McKay mentioned, Fairfax County's taxpayers believe in the quality of public education and have generously supported our schools when we have been chronically underfunded by the state and the federal government. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
We're going to go ahead and get started with our Q&A, and I'll start a couple that I had left over from last time, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more here. First and foremost, and I know that we all experience this, is litter is out of control. Please help. Litter is one of the things that's the bane of our community. It definitely takes away from what we know is a beautiful Mount Vernon. One of the best ways to do that, we know, is most litter is not necessarily somebody throwing something out the window, although that is part of it. The biggest issue we have with litter is the collection process of litter. People throw things in a trash can, it somehow ends up out of the trash can, or the dumpster doesn't dump it quite right and there's some of it falling down. We have a number of things that we're doing to try to reduce that. Number one, we have a litter control organization that works with us, and we've been very involved with putting together some initiatives to try to reduce litter. A waste trap program, which we started that at the shopping center where we're at King's Crossing, where the Walmart is. There are some even better litter control traps that are on the Mount Vernon side of the shopping center, on the Lee District side of the shopping center in Mount Vernon shopping center. But we also have a lot more that we need to do. We have a program that works with folks who are not employed or maybe at risk of being homeless. They're paid to go out and help to pick up litter and to help reduce the amount of it that's on our streets. Those are pieces of what we do. I know it's not enough. In my mind, the number one thing that we need to focus on is to get more of our shopping centers, more of our parking lots to have litter collection devices that reduce the amount of it that flows into our stormwater systems and streets and ultimately out into the creeks and rivers. So more to come on that. The other one that I had is one about, this is on Bowling Drive, a lot there that led to reoccurring flooding issues. Now every time it rains we have a dirty lake. Please resolve this issue created by the builder. I know that I've talked to staff, I've talked to my staff and county staff who's met with the engineer on site. They have filled in the driveway, which was part of the problem that was out of compliance. And they also have further work that they need to do to revise to take a look at the hydraulic analysis on the property to adjust the grading at that property that's next door. So there is some work to do. The consultant and developer are going to provide an update to the individual property owner, but I know that on my staff, Nick Reinhardt is working with all of those folks to make sure that we respond to the real issues that this property owners had with flooding as a result of infill development next door. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I have quite the stack, so do you want me to go through a couple?
Just do a couple and yeah.
Sure. First question I have was, why wasn't anyone from FCPS here to recruit? Good question, and I guess I will say I'm here to recruit for FCPS. We have job openings in all of our categories. Most dramatically, we have a shortage nationally and locally of teachers. And so, we've seen our teacher development programs decrease by enrollment 30% year over year across the country. And once students get into the teaching curriculum, we've seen a decline of about 28% of those students transferring into other areas. And so please encourage people to look at teaching as a wonderful career, especially in the area of special education. But more importantly, let's restore the tone and tenor about teachers in our community, because I like to say that they are our first responders to our students in the classroom. And so please, when you see a teacher, thank that teacher for all that they are doing. Thank our principals for all that they are doing in a very challenging period where our principals have become healthcare, having to triage healthcare issues, educational academic attainment, which should be their primary focus, as well as dealing with all of the other issues at a local level, at the most local level when it comes to COVID. So please, if you know someone who's interested in either teaching for FCPS, substitute teaching, or helping out as or being employed as a teacher's instructional assistant, a mentor, or a monitor, or if they're interested in volunteering in our schools. And if they go on the website and they find it difficult to find the right place to go, please reach out to me, have them contact me at klcorbett@fcps, and I am happy to help. The next question is about funding and a perception that Mount Vernon is funded at a lower level than West Potomac. We actually use funding formulas that are driven by the number of students in a building and whether the students have special needs, whether they are English language learners, or if they are in poverty. We just had a benchmarking study done, and I am proud to say that what Fairfax County is doing with the funding of our schools is great. We are focused on teachers first, of getting more teachers in our classrooms than other jurisdictions. But I also want to correct a misnomer that we are overfunded, because we are not overfunded. We have a 37-year renovation cycle. We've put off major maintenance. We have many other challenges facing our schools. And per capita spending in Fairfax County for our students is actually lower than the neighboring jurisdictions. The next one is regarding student records and whether or not we record sexual orientation in student records. We do not do that. I don't know. There's another question regarding Westpo versus Mount Vernon and why we do Heathers at West Potomac. Somebody is going to have to let me know what Heathers are, because I don't know what they mean. Do you want to take one?
Well, you keep on, they can ask at the end too, so.
Okay. I have a question about charter schools and why we don't have one. Well, the state actually allows for charter schools under the jurisdiction and the approval of the local school board. People fail to realize that that is actually an existing law, and there's no need to change that law. In Mount Vernon, while I've been on the board, we have never received a request for establishing a charter school. And I think that's because of the FCPS promise of a world-class education, but it's also because there's an expectation that if you were to establish a school in our community, that you will provide the same level of academic opportunity to all students. Because what happens with many charter schools is that they are not open to every child who wants to go to that school, and they do not have the same requirements to keep children in their schools if they have challenges with those children. And so we have not received a request while I've been on the board, but there is a process if somebody wants to apply for a charter school, and it will go through that public process.
All set? Go ahead
No.
and finish, and then I'm going to go on to the next.
Okay, I have
We'll
one.
have a session at the end, but
Okay.
that'll be
I have one regarding, and this is for you and I, regarding child safety and the speed by which people drive coming off of Old Vernon Court and the intersection near Mount Vernon High School and Riverside Elementary. I think that's yours because it's a police enforcement issue.
Old Mount Vernon Court. I don't know the Old Mount Vernon Court intersection per se. I know where Riverside Elementary School is, of course, and it sounds like we need to get the Mount Vernon Police to take a look at this, because the times that they have are 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and to look at that as an enforcement issue. And if we need further speed reduction efforts, we can do that. So thank you very much for bringing it to our attention. I don't have an email address on here, but we will follow up, and if you want to contact our office, we'll be able to get you a specific answer, a personal answer back to you as well. Thank you.
So I have a question about courses for adults at night. And Fairfax County Public Schools actually has the Adult Community Education Program, which has a catalog. You should have received a notice about that catalog. It has a wide range of courses which allow for adults to gain new skills in the trades or even pursue certifications, as well as for just developmental classes, such as, if you want to take a cooking class or an art class. And so if you go online to www.fcps.edu and search adult community education, you can get access to that catalog. The other piece, though, is we also offer adult high school completion opportunities, which is so important for many of our people in the community who were not able to complete high school when they were younger. We encourage you to take advantage of those programs as well. And finally, Dan and I have, Supervisor Storck and I have worked very closely on the original Mount Vernon High School. And we're very pleased to say that part of that plan would be to bring the ACE programming to the original Mount Vernon as well.
From Northern Virginia Community College and potentially others, but definitely Nova is committed to that, yeah.
And our students at Mount Vernon High School are already taking advantage of that strategic partnership with Northern Virginia Community College, and they can take those dual enrollment courses and actually get college credit. The last question is it's actually addressed to you, but they gave it to me, so I think we might both answer it.
Okay.
Dan, for 2 years, parents begged the supervisors to step in to address the school board's inability to make decisions and lead. Well, we might have different views on that one. And every time the parents begged for help, the supervisors said they would not do anything that they could about it. They couldn't pressure the school board. So we went to Richmond for help. Jeff McKay's letter was childish, and parents have no sympathy now.
Well, let me say something that I know you'll probably need. So as a member of the school board for 12 years and 3-time chair of the school board, I deeply respect the relationship between the Board of Supervisors and the school board, not only because I think it's the right relationship, but more importantly, it's a constitutionally required relationship. So I know people come to me, and they did it when I was on the school board, and they do it to me now as a supervisor, but I respect the fact that the school board is responsible for our school system. It is not a supervisor's responsibility to tell the school board how to do their job. I know that we have a responsibility to ensure sufficient funding, and I'm deeply committed to that, and I've worked very hard for that. I would also add the state also has a responsibility to ensure adequate funding for the schools, and I don't think that occurs, as I know the chairman mentioned earlier. So, but we, taxpayers of county and the state, turn our money over to the school board, and the school board is responsible for how that gets allocated and operating the school system. I deeply respect that separation. I also know the kinds of challenges the school board has had this past couple years are something that's almost unimaginable, and as a former school board person, I'm happy not to be on the school board because the challenges are just, and the fact that you will not ever fully satisfy all the folks that are out there means that you're always going to be second guessed. I'm not here to second guess you, I'm here to support you. So that's the core of why I've responded the way I have.
Well, thank you, Dan. And I also appreciate that you raised the issue of not only the state constitution and code, but also the part of that code is the responsibility for the safety and security of our students while they're in their buildings. And so although we know that our students, many of our students struggled with the online experience, many others flourished. We also know that there are some that would like to have individual choice regarding our safety and security measures, but there is a responsibility for the whole school building and everybody in it, and that includes our students and our staff. We had operational challenges early on because of the number of our staff who have ADA accommodations and were not able to be in our classrooms until we had a vaccine, which is why we so appreciated the prioritization of our staff in that vaccine process. And finally, I want to just urge people to understand that this discussion has many different facets, and there are some that are passionate about individual options. There are also many others who aren't. And I will share with you that in January, We received a petition with over 5,000 signatures. That petition was started here in Mount Vernon, urging us to go full virtual. And we knew that we could not do that based on state law. But people came back into our buildings because they knew that they were safe and secure in those buildings, and that we would do everything we could with layers of mitigation that were developed in close coordination with the health department. It is also why in the rolling back, the health department has urged us to use the science, and when we get down to a moderate level, which I am optimistic given the numbers we see, will be very soon, that then you make mask optional. But there will still be students and staff that have vulnerabilities or have overall concerns that will continue to wear their mask. And so it is a complex challenge, and it's a partnership that goes between the health department and the schools as we navigate the process.
I think we have a challenge that you all have worked through it. I don't think any of us would say that we agree with every decision that the school board's made, nor for that matter, would you agree with every decision probably the school board has made as an individual member, because that's how that institution works, is that you work together and you come up with a majority to support a particular issue, and then you move forward. So that's always going to be our challenge. With that, I'm going to move on to the virtual tour, and we will have one last question and answer session at the end of that. So let me just initiate that, and we will, thank you. Thank you. So we are very pleased to have everybody here, but we now are going to go to the virtual fly-through, which we're going to start, as you see, right up on the screen, and this will give us about 35 minutes, which will just be up on the screen, and I'll be available to take a break, and then I will be reappearing in about 35 minutes to conclude the town meeting with a question and answer session, and live mics, et cetera. So thank you. Welcome to the 2022 virtual tour of the Mount Vernon District, a tradition that harkens to the first town meeting of my predecessor, Gerry Highland. This tour is created in Virtual Fairfax, a GIS program available to all residents on the fairfaxcounty.gov website. Nick Reinhardt, my land use aide, continues to improve the tour to make your ride easier on today's flight through the district. Thank you, Nick. Today's presentation includes actual buildings and locations, submitted development plans, and renderings of futuristic plans that show current conditions and help you visualize potential future developments. The area outlined in purple is the Mount Vernon district before changes due to the 2020 census. The new district is seen here in orange. To balance populations between districts, the Saratoga precinct was moved out of Mount Vernon and into the Springfield district. We will start our tour at the iconic Mount Vernon Estate, which provides an eastern landmark for Fairfax County and is our namesake. There's currently a county renaming committee that is considering possible changes in district and precinct names. Mount Vernon has been discussed for consideration, but Mount Vernon residents have voiced their strong support to leave our district name alone, and I support this. I was humbled and pleased on Juneteenth to honor the life and legacy of Ona Judge. On May 21, 1796, enslaved maid Ona Judge seized her freedom from President George Washington's house and fleeing to New Hampshire. This marker unveiling was celebrated with Dr. Erica Armstrong Dunbar, residents, teachers, and students who have been bringing her story to life through books and by honoring her story and bravery. Thanks to Superintendent Charles Cuvelier and the National Park Service, we partnered and hosted the 2021 Environmental Expo at Fort Hunt Park, where we encouraged residents to get out, learn, and do. Residents talked to exhibitors, attended workshops, the Junior Ranger program, inspected electric vehicles, and learned more about the county's environmental programs. Thank you, Kamala Spear, my environmental aide, for coordinating this event. For our local historians, Fort Hunt is the site for the Spanish-American War battlements and former World War II German POW camp. Please join me at Fort Hunt Park for our 4th annual Environmental Expo on April 23rd as we continue to expand and grow this very popular event. We're having our 3rd annual Environmental Expo. We are at Fort Hunt Park, which is a beautiful park right along the river. It is a beautiful day. We are, for the first time ever, partnering with the National Park Service at George Washington Memorial Parkway.
There's a little bit of everything for people here today. This is a family-friendly event. We've got live music, live animals, electric cars, the Junior Ranger program, nature walks, Friends of Parks. We've got the Glass Monster. We've got how to recycle right workshops, and so much more. There's something for everyone.
There's a great buzz here today. There's been sort of a steady harmony here of people engaged in conversations, young kids around here kind of engaged in activities. We've had unique exhibitors out here.
Lots of different folks who just are passionate about the environment and want to share really information about how we all can do better. We saved River Farm. Wow. With tremendous community support and a strong partnership, advocacy, and leadership with our federal, state, and regional leaders, this beautiful property was preserved, including adding a historic overlay district. Through our collaborative county and state leadership, we held a very successful news conference at River Farm where we were joined by Attorney General Mark Herring to keep the pressure on. Key partners to save River Farm include Nova Regional Parks, Paul Gilbert, Northern Virginia Conservation Trust, Alan Rossum, Senator Adam Ebbin, Senator Scott Searleville, Delegate Paul Krizak, Wellington resident Catherine Ward, and especially AHS board member Laura Dowling. 5 AHS board members stood firm, and without them, we would not be celebrating the preservation and protection of this historic property. Along the George Washington Parkway, the National Park Service conducted a traffic study to include evaluating key intersections between Bellhaven and Mount Vernon Circle. We all saw these changes implemented in 2021, and I appreciate Superintendent Cuvilier's presentation earlier this morning outlining the changes. The Dyke Marsh Restoration Project continues to improve a Mount Vernon District treasure, which is the largest freshwater tidal wetland in the area with almost 80 acres. Continued federal funding and support is critical for its restoration. Nearby is the Holland Hills community. Here we are working on a potential historic overlay district requested by community residents in 2018 that is coming to the Planning Commission on February 23rd and the Board of Supervisors on March 8th. Holland Hills is already listed on the National Register of Historic Places for its mid-century modern character. An HOD designation will provide another opportunity for the community to preserve its character. The HOD work group of Holland Hills homeowners, coordinated by Nick Reinhardt on my staff, worked many complex issues with county staff and held several community meetings. Also in the Holland Hills community, the county is investing $1.3 million in a stream restoration project to restore, enhance, and stabilize 1,800 linear feet of stream along Paul Spring. As you can see in these pictures, between the July 2021 and November 2021, substantial improvements have already been realized. Voters approved $33 million in park bonds, allowing the Mount Vernon Rec Center to receive its first ever upgrade since the 1970s. The renovation and construction were expected to begin in May with an upgraded fitness center, additional multipurpose rooms, 2 NHL-size ice rinks, and a swimming pool. However, delays have occurred due to COVID-19 supply chain issues and substantial cost increases. In response, county staff will be rebidding this project when supply and pricing stabilize. We are hopeful that this will occur in early 2022. Bellevue Shopping Center renovations and upgrades are complete, and I was very pleased to be at the Roy Rogers Grant reopening with the Mount Vernon Lee Chamber of Commerce. Thank you to everyone who continues to support our local businesses during COVID. You've hopefully noticed that changes were made along Fort Hunt Road to include repaving and widening the shoulder. I was pleased to work with VDOT, Senator Scott Searleville, and Delegate Paul Krizak to make this happen for you. Thank you, Peyton Smith, my transportation aide, for bringing everyone together and moving this project along. Messiah Lutheran Church closed its doors in May after serving the Mount Vernon community for 67 years. The church site, located at 6510 Fort Hunt Road, was sold to EVG Miller's Reserve, and they are planning to build single-family homes. Through the sale, Messiah Lutheran was able to continue their mission by providing significant donations to United Community, New Hope Housing, and Nativity Lutheran Church. We are now at the northernmost part of the district, the North Gateway at I-495 and 95, and Richmond Highway. The county has made significant investments here, and today you can see the resulting new developments. Thank you to the Mount Vernon Lee Chamber of Commerce and the Southeast Fairfax Development Corporation, or SFDC, for hosting the Opportunity Richmond Highway event, highlighting the corridor and encouraging business development in our area. Huntwood Plaza is proposing to build a restaurant multi-tenant pad site on the corner island. This requires a special exception amendment and is coming to the Planning Commission in March, and the Board of Supervisors in April. Riverside Apartments continue their apartment renovations, and you can see their future renderings here. Ethos Veterinary is proposing a state-of-the-art veterinary facility at 5904 Richmond Highway, and the rezoning is still under review by county staff. You may have heard that the former Great American Steak Buffet is undergoing commercial renovation. Beyond Hello, a medical marijuana dispensary, is looking to occupy the space. County staff has determined that this business is permitted retail sales use in the underlying zoning district. Virginia state regulations also allow this use and govern the operations of medical cannabis dispensaries. Among these regulations, once the product is sold and dispensed, the individual purchaser is not legally allowed to consume on the premise of the facility. I'm sure many of you are also familiar with the Sunoco site, and it remains vacant. We're not aware of any pending plans for the site, although the owner does have other options and can move forward with by right development. In December, I asked county staff to consider a proposal by Evergreen Investment Company to study redevelopment at the current Brookside Motel site. Their concept shows a multifamily residential building, and given it's adjacent to a stream, the proposal will be carefully evaluated for its environmental impacts. The Arden, developed by Wesley Housing, will provide 126 units of much-needed affordable housing and 7,500 square feet of office space for the new Wesley Housing headquarters, expected to be complete this summer. Residents will also notice innovative outdoor public art. Next is the Huntington Crossing, a 62-unit multifamily development near Huntington Metro Station. The site is near completion. Avonton is a multifamily building with 7 stories and contains up to 379 units. The proposed building design complements the existing multifamily structures to the south of the property while being respectful of nearby single-family uses and the terrain. It also promotes a contemporary urban design adjacent to the Huntington Metro Station. The Huntington Club rezoning was approved by the Board of Supervisors in December. This has been a multi-year process, and we are finally here with a plan to provide a high-quality, transformative community within the Huntington Transit area. The 19-acre redevelopment includes 200 stacked townhomes, a mixture of rental and for-sale multifamily residential units, and a continuing care facility with up to 1,600 total residences. I also worked very hard with the developer to ensure that there are affordable and workforce units at this site. Thank you to IDI and the Huntington Club Condo Association for their commitment throughout this project and for hosting hundreds of meetings. On January 26, 2021, as part of the South County Site-Specific Plan Amendment, or SSPA process, the Board of Supervisors authorized consideration of a comprehensive plan amendment on the Huntington Transit Station area to evaluate a plan for mixed use to include public facilities for the Huntington Metro Rail Station. 360,000 square feet of office and retail use and 2,400 units in low, mid, and high-rise buildings are part of that. As we travel south on North Kings Highway, we approach the Fairchild Stream Restoration Project beyond the Walmart, which was a $3 million county investment. I'd like to thank Martin Tillett for inviting me to this site many years ago and for his continued advocacy. Not only was the county able to complete this stream restoration, but a number of years ago, I was able to get county funding to purchase nearby Quander family land to connect to the Fairchild site to create a future park. This property was approved and is being conveyed to the Park Authority this year. Next door, where the old Wendy's, Ranch House, and Pizza Hut used to be, the Bellhaven project is under construction and includes a high-quality, mixed-use, multifamily building with 340 units and unique on-site park amenities and 41 workforce development units. Across the street is the South Alex project that is now underway after last year's terrible fire. Combined Properties is developing 400 apartments, 41 townhomes, and 44,000 square feet of ground-level retail. An Aldi grocery store will be the anchor of this complex. New this year is a proposed Alexandria Crossing project, which will be coming to the Board of Supervisors later this month. This is located on the Evolution home site, and Lennar Multifamily is proposing 466 residential units on 8 acres of land, with 47 units as workforce affordable homes. They've also committed to a $250,000 park contribution. I recently met with the Pendaw Terrace Mobile Home Park and surrounding residents about this next door property. The Kings Crossing area will be the first bus rapid transit or BRT stop after Huntington. You can see the station design concept here, and on February 25, there will be a community meeting to announce the one brand name. County staff have made significant strides in 2021 with the right-of-way acquisition process beginning later this year. We are now at BRT Beacon Groveton Station number 3 and a future metro station. Built on a 100-year-old airfield, this future town center concept has the greatest urban redevelopment potential. In 2015, Fairfax County voters approved a public safety bond referendum for the renovation and expansion of 5 of the county's fire stations, including the Pendaw Fire Station. As planning developed on the Pendaw Fire Station, the Hybla Valley Nursery site became available and was found to be an advantageous location for the new fire station. The location on Beacon Hill Road allows first responders direct access to emergencies in the community and saves over $1 million that would have been spent for a temporary fire station. Due to the size of the property and location along Richmond Highway, an opportunity to provide co-located county facilities was recognized. I convened an advisory committee, much like I have done on similar projects, consisting of local residents, affected agencies, and community organizations to help us find the right balance and provide input on programs and site design. Thank you, Christine Morin, for leading this effort. This project will provide co-location opportunities with replacement beds for the Eleanor Kennedy Shelter, supportive and workforce housing. After 35 years, North Hill is on the verge of revitalization. This includes a 12-acre public park on the hill, 175 market-rate townhomes, 63 affordable senior independent living units, and 216 workforce affordable apartments. I cannot wait to see this beautiful mixed-income development completed along the highway after so many years of waiting. As we continue to travel south, we can now see BRT stations number 4, 5, and 6, Lockheed Boulevard, Hybla Valley, and Gum Springs, and a future Metro Rail station. The Hybla Valley Gum Springs CBC is the largest and most dense at over 1 mile long. It provides an opportunity for a town center and a parallel street grid to the highway. Lee District Supervisor Rodney Lusk and his team have been working on the Lee District Community Center, previously the Mount Vernon Athletic Club. This multi-service center will provide recreation, youth programs, and other resources for the community later this year. And now, welcome to our office and the Mount Vernon Governmental Center. We offer many services here where many of you visit our office. On site, you can find the purple glass recycling container where we have the busiest bin, and wine bottles seem to be the preferred glass of choice for many of you. This year, we've partnered with the DMV Connect, and they've been providing monthly services to residents for any vehicle-related needs. I'd also like to remind you of the new staff members this year, Alex Kramer, Peyton Smith, and Maddie Carcamo Reyes. The Farmers Market at Sherwood Hall Library parking lot continues to be a community favorite. We were also fortunate to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Sherwood Hall Library, where many of you picked up free COVID tests. Walt Whitman Middle School also celebrated their 60th anniversary this year. I've spoken with many of you about the challenges of infill development in our district, and 2 weeks ago I kicked off the Infill Development Task Force to create a better understanding of the by right development process for residential infill projects and evaluate what options there are to change the process, both at a county and a state level, that could benefit the community. The advisory committee consists of 15 to 20 members, including Mount Vernon District residents, state representatives, and industry developers, and will meet over the next 5 months. It is being led by Nick Reinhardt on my team. The Fairfax County Park Authority endorsed Park Authority Pickleball Study Report in December, which will serve as a guiding document for Park Authority pickleball planning. Thank you, Linwood, for working with me to acquire pickleball nets at Walt Whitman and Collingwood Park, as well as striping for courts in the Saratoga area. This past year, the National Register nomination was completed and accepted for the Pride of Fairfax Lodge, formerly Oddfellows Hall in Gum Springs. In addition, I was able to secure additional funding to expand the scope and further define the boundaries and the history of Gum Springs through a community-driven process, which we kicked off this past year. This will help protect the future of Gum Springs, and I look forward to working with the community leaders and local organizations and residents throughout this process. I'm also pleased that we were able to continue improvements at Gum Springs to include new historic marker and MLK Park playground renovations. After hearing many community concerns about the Richmond Highway widening being too expansive in some areas with up to 13 proposed lanes, we demanded that VDOT take a second look to protect our community. VDOT is reviewing traffic engineering and will have more information to share in the early spring. We can now see BRT station number 7 near the original Mount Vernon High School, or OMVHS. A partnership agreement is underway between the county, Fairfax County Public Schools, and Northern Virginia Community College to bring college classes and workforce development to the campus. Other options being considered include training programs, small business and food incubation, nonprofit offices, and professional theater offerings. Additionally, we held the Teen and Senior Center ribbon cutting, and the SFDC hosted their first summer picnic on site. Across the street is the Gerry Highland Government Center, which is the location of our local health center where COVID testing currently takes place. During the Comprehensive Plan SSPA review last year, I hosted a community meeting with residents in the Ingleside and Rays Mobile Home Park to talk with them about their concerns and how I can support the residents best going forward. I truly understand the importance of home security, ownership, and living in a connected community. Housing security is a critical element of my commitment to that Richmond Highway redevelopment, and it must always include a plan for leaving no one behind. I'm looking forward to the recommendations by the Manufactured Housing Task Force later this year. Further south along Richmond Highway, the Woodlawn CBC is the 8th BRT station. This CBC is the least dense as we transition to more residential properties down the corridor and includes both the Sacramento and Woodlawn shopping centers. The Woodlawn Fire Station is open, and I welcome you to the grand opening there on Saturday, February 19th at 10 a.m. It will be a wonderful celebration. Oarsman recently opened their new Kia dealership at this improved location. Team MVD was happy to participate at the Mount Vernon Community Cookout at the Sacramento Center. Thank you, Alex Kramer, my Health, Housing, and Human Services liaison, and Shirley Short, our amazing volunteer, for connecting with our residents. AHC partnered with Virginia Housing and Fairfax County to purchase the Haven Mount Vernon near the Sacramento Shopping Center to preserve these apartments as affordable housing for a total of about 200 units. As you know, there are many missing trails along some of our busiest roads, an outcome of the great need for more funding for trails and sidewalks. A very good example is the Mount Vernon Memorial Highway Trail with its many missing links. In 2014, $5.5 million was approved for a county project to complete the missing pieces and provide a 20-plus mile walking trail from Great Falls to Richmond Highway. This will be an improvement long sought by me for many of our walkers, runners, and cyclists, and the groundbreaking took place just a few weeks ago. I look forward to seeing you back this year at Gristmill Park on Sunday, March 27th, for the Ides of Bark Dog Festival. Behind Gristmill Park, the Fairfax County Park Authority acquired the Walutz property from Mount Vernon Estate to provide an enlarged park that protects this former slave housing area. When I was elected, one of my visions was to establish a Mount Vernon cultural corridor to draw more visitors to experience the area's historic sites and abundant parks. Similar to the Williamsburg to Jamestown Historic Trail, the Mount Vernon Corridor Trail will connect the Mount Vernon estate to the National Museum of the Army and the many other historic stops along the way. This vision is being realized through my tourism task force, and I'm very excited to share with you our new Potomac Banks branding. Future goals for this area include a full-service hotel, fine dining, entertainment, and new recreation. The 6th annual Tour de Mount Vernon kicked off at the Woodlawn Pope Leahy House and was dedicated to my lifelong friend and inspiration behind this annual ride, Dave Evans. This event continues to bring the community together to ride through our many scenic and historic areas. The staff and new executive director, Sean Halifax, were very supportive partners. Please join me as we head back to the southern part of the district to ride on October 22nd. We are here today at Woodlawn and Pope Leahy House, and this is part of the Tour de Mount Vernon. This is our 6th annual Tour de Mount Vernon, and we are here to bring folks out to connect, to enjoy nature and our community.
Well, I have participated in it before, and what made me come out today is obviously to celebrate all of the ways people can bike around Fairfax County, particularly Mount Vernon. Whenever we can promote cycling as an alternative way to get around in Fairfax County and prove that you can do it safely, it's a great healthy activity, and we want to encourage that and showcase that.
Community is about bringing people together and doing that around something fun and something educational. And really, the Tour de Mount Vernon does all that. Our 9th BRT and final stop is at Pence and Lieber Gates at Fort Belvoir. Lieber Gate is currently closed during COVID. AHC partnered with Virginia Housing and Fairfax County to also purchase the Haven Fort Belvoir to preserve about 70 apartments as affordable housing. I also want to mention that I have worked with the board and county executive to create a new role for the county, a Fort Belvoir liaison. Vance Savella, who works in the Department of Economic Initiatives, has been cultivating relationships and developing ways that we can better locally leverage Fort Belvoir, its 150 partner organizations, 51,000 employees as the largest employer in Fairfax County, and $28 billion in county economic impact. Vance now works on site at Fort Belvoir as well. I'd like to introduce the Fort Belvoir Garrison Commander, Colonel Joshua Seagraves. Colonel?
Hello, I'm Colonel Josh Seagraves, the Fort Belvoir Garrison Commander. On behalf of Command Sergeant Major Greg Kleinholtz and the entire Fort Belvoir community, thank you, Supervisor Storck, for giving me this opportunity to share information about Fort Belvoir with our Mount Vernon District neighbors at this important annual tradition. Let me start by saying Fort Belvoir, despite the continued challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic, continues to provide uninterrupted services to approximately 200,000 people in the region, both active duty and retired military, civilian employees, and family members. During the last year, we've been able to complete 2 health and welfare projects, the Armed Forces Wellness Center, and a Human Performance Center. I'm also pleased to report that Fort Belvoir Child Development Centers were featured on the PBS network, recognizing our child care programs as a model for our nation. The Fort Belvoir Community Hospital, which has been the epicenter of our response to the virus, marked a milestone last summer of more than 100,000 COVID-19 vaccines administered. In September, Fort Belvoir hosted a community engagement for the Department of Defense Naming Commission to discuss possible renaming of the installation. Although no decision has been made as to whether the installation should be subject to a name change, we will keep the public, county, and state leaders informed of the garrison status as we move through the review process. I'm confident Fort Belvoir will remain a key platform in support of our national security strategy and will continue to serve as a long-term economic engine for both Fairfax County and for the region. In closing, I also want to take this opportunity to express my appreciation for the continued support and cooperation that our military community has received and receives from our Mount Vernon neighbors and the Fairfax County state and local governments.
Well, thank you, Colonel. Off the Fairfax County Parkway is the new home to the National Museum of the United States Army. The Army Museum was the host site for our first Veteran and Military Career Fair, which drew more than 500 job seekers. I'm also pleased that we have another service source facility off Cinderbed Road that provides opportunities for people with disabilities. Additionally, at the FedEx site off Telegraph Road, the remaining Connolly property will be the future home to an Amazon distribution site. Heading south, the county has invested $54 million in improvements in the Noman coal plant, with upgrades including high solar reflected roofing, improved odor control systems, and improved catchment basins. On Armistead Road, the new Lorton Volunteer Fire Station will finally be open in the next few weeks. At the Lorton Marketplace, residents are eagerly waiting for the opening of the new Amazon Fresh. And right across the street, under the clock tower, Panera will be breaking ground in the next few months. Further south is the construction site for the new Lorton Community Center and Library, which I consider a crucial human development center for our area. This one-story, 33,000 square foot building includes a gymnasium and will be the new home to the Lorton Senior Center, a renovated library, and the Lorton Community Action Center. It is expected to be complete in 2022. I'm also very proud to have led the co-location of these facilities and expediting the library building renovation funding. As we head toward the water in Mason Neck, we see Gunston Hall, home to George Mason, the father of the Bill of Rights. Mason Neck State Park features hiking, kayaking, biking, and birdwatching, and especially bald eagles, many of those. Poick Bay Regional Park offers golf, kayaking, boat ramps, and camping, as well as the very popular Pirates Cove Water Park. The Bureau of Land Management, or BLM, Meadowood offers mountain biking courses, walking and horse trails, and recently added a new staff building and are working on a new horse show pavilion. A new Gunston Fire Station is in design and will provide much-needed modern facilities for the area. As we continue south, I am very pleased to announce that Regional North Virginia Transportation Authority, or NVTA, and Atlantic Gateway funding have been secured to replace the CSX bridge at an estimated cost of $50 million. The old Colchester Inn was acquired by the Park Authority, and this site will be preserved as well. The Church of Pentecost is also under construction at the former Lazy Susan site. You are now at the highest point in Fairfax County, the closed waste management landfill, which is the peak you see as you drive down I-95. Once waste management goes through the required closing period, our goal is to open a passive park overlooking the beautiful Occoquan and Potomac rivers by 2025. A county team of over 20 agencies is being led by our project management team and by my Chief of Staff, Christine Morin, to engage with waste management and the community as we work through this park development phase. We are steadily progressing on this long project and know that we will still have a ways to go to secure and open the park. Across the street at the county's I-95 landfill, you may have heard about a potential indoor ski slope going on that site called Fairfax Peak. The county is currently engaged in a formal procurement process to evaluate a public-private partnership proposal to build a 450,000 square foot indoor snow sports facility with an expected 1,700-foot ski slope. As with any potential development, there will be plenty of community dialogue and engagement as the next steps become clear. Next door, the beautiful Occoquan Regional Park includes an event space, riverfront boardwalk, and cafe. The grounds are also home to the long-awaited Turning Point Suffragist Memorial, where we celebrated the ribbon cutting this past year. Across the street is the Workhouse Arts Center, with over 100 artists, performing arts, and community events. This hidden gem is a thriving arts complex. We are very thrilled to welcome the new Executive Director, Leon Sosha, who brings in-depth experience and vision to the campus. In the past years, funding was approved for the historic preservation and renovations to the two buildings along Ox Road. Fairfax County Capital Project staff have developed an improved design concept to renovate these buildings and provide an outdoor plaza area. Thanks to the many years of advocacy from my office and the Lorton community, county staff has come to an agreement with VMDO Architects to fund and create a Workhouse Arts Campus Master Plan with community engagement to help guide future development of the campus and the surrounding area. Along Workhouse Road, Laurel Hill Crossing includes 37 single-family homes, and all homes have been sold. Around the corner is the location for the new South County Police Station and Animal Shelter, expected to open in 2023. A steering committee led by my Chief of Staff, Christine Morin, comprised of community members, public safety, and animal welfare representatives, helped determine the location and design elements for the project.
1, 2, 3, toss.
All corners of the county have to succeed if the county is to succeed. And part of that success is having access to the amenities and the opportunities in your own community. And certainly that is true in South County. When I think about this project, I think back to early conversations with Supervisor Hyland well over a decade ago about the need for an animal shelter and the need for a police station somewhere in South County. And originally those concepts were talked about along the Route 1 corridor. And as Lorton grew and more people moved to this part of the county, it was very clear that this area is where the new station needed to be in order to make sure we could maximize our police resources and be efficient as a county in delivering services.
It was a glorious day when we held the Laurel Hill Central Green ribbon cutting, which has become a local community gathering spot. The Central Green is open and includes picnic pavilions, gathering space, and will include future restroom facilities. Also at the shops of Lorton Valley along Ox Road, a new Popeyes is expected to open this year. This summer, we had double tragedies that shook the South County community. I met with residents and hosted community meetings in the area with our public safety team to address and answer community concerns. We were all deeply shaken by teenagers using guns to resolve minor disputes. All of this is in contrast to the overall 10% reduction in 2021 crime across the county. Along Silverbrook Road, we approached Liberty at Lorton. Liberty is built on the former Lorton prison site, a new urban village, and is becoming a vibrant hub of community residences and workplaces, shopping, and green space. Lidl is coming to Liberty. I participated in their groundbreaking in December, and they are expected to open this summer. Lidl will anchor Lorton's Liberty Market with a 30,000 square foot store. Additionally, there are businesses already open there, including yoga, MMA, as well as other small businesses. Further down Silverbrook Road, the county has invested $3 million in the Gunston Corner Pond retrofit. Lorton Vision is in an ongoing study that is considering ways to strengthen the identity and sense of place in Lorton through recommended updates to the comprehensive plan. Over the past 4 years, a task force of residents appointed by my office has been discussing various ideas for ways to create greater opportunities for vibrant, engaging, mixed-use centers that can serve the Lorton community and its visitors. We finally received funding to begin the analysis of a potential comprehensive plan amendment at the beginning of 2021, and we are currently working with consultants and the task force in a series of community engagements to help further define the vision of what Lorton will look like 20 years from now. Stay tuned for the next community engagement. Now that we've toured the entire district and seen all of our Mount Vernon district treasures, let's talk about Potomac Banks. The Potomac Banks brand captures our historic sites, recreational spirit, entertainment, and the arts, nature, and so much more. COVID has had a profound impact and hurt our tourism and hospitality industry. I encourage all of you to get out and visit all of these sites in our Potomac Banks brand. This year, we are launching the brand to raise awareness, drive more visitors to our region, and to create synergy between locations. Wow, we have a lot going on in the Mount Vernon district. I am pleased to continue working with you to see the changes we want in our neighborhoods and community. We are indeed fortunate to live in a vibrant, growing area where all can live, learn, work, and play. Our district is renowned for its scenic beauty, civic activism, history, hospitality, and vast diversity. As we grow, we know that balancing these incredible assets with new 21st century opportunities will be vital to maintaining our community character and enduring heritage. It has always been my honor and privilege to serve you as your Mount Vernon District Supervisor. Together, we have accomplished much throughout a second challenging COVID year, and I know we will achieve far more in the future. Thank you very much. And and truly thank you all, because this is obviously a community effort. It's not about an individual or an individual office, for that matter. You've heard, particularly earlier, the chairman and others talk about how we can make a difference in our community, and that we are getting the resources, I think, to help make the difference that we need here. I did want to make kind of one modification to something that was in the tour. One of the things that wasn't done at the time of the tour was the status of the name Mount Vernon, and because that was called into question as to whether or not it should be considered to be changed. And I'm really pleased to say that the naming commission said that there's no need to change the name Mount Vernon. And I thank our two representatives that actually live in Mount Vernon, Gerry and Lisa, for their work to make sure that really everybody recognized that that's a core part of our community. So thank you, Gerry and Lisa, and the committee overall. As you can see again this year, there's a lot going on in our district. If you are not here in person and you want to stop by our office to pick up more information, particularly the vendor goodie bags, please don't hesitate to do that. We appreciate you very much sharing your morning with us and for caring about the community and being engaged. I look forward to seeing many of you, and I do mean many of you, at our other many great events, not only the Ides of Bark on the 27th, which again my predecessor started, and look forward to be enjoying the many dogs that come to see us and the owners that come along because they want to have something to do as well. So thank you. This will conclude the formal portion of our 35th annual Mount Vernon Town Meeting. We will now go to our final question and answer session, and we have microphones available in here that people can come up to, the two different mics that are here. So if you have any specific questions that you want to ask myself, you're more than welcome to. I'll be happy to be here and answer them. So anybody who has any specific questions, I know I have a couple to answer that are on paper, but if there's anybody that needs to come to the mic or would like to come to the mic to ask a question, I'd be happy to answer those. And to give anybody who has a question a chance to come up to the mic, let me just answer a couple of the ones that I have here. I'll just go ahead and read this. Is there any initiative for building business and community outreach? And the second one is, why are the schools partnering with churches for referrals, supporting families and children emotionally post-pandemic? So I know Karen they're asking that particularly for the second one. I don't see Karen here, but I will say on the initiative for building business and community outreach, we have done a huge amount of that. And I don't say that lightly. We've taken the federal money that was made available to us. We have spent tens of millions of dollars for a program we called RISE, and really several others. We did postcard outreach to small businesses, particularly along the corridor, to assist them. And my office has a regular program where we work with Southeast Fairfax Development Corporation and the Economic Development Authority to do just that. So there will be more, but those are two things in particular that we have been very involved with. And I think the other questions here, job fairs and small business events to build up the community. We've done job fairs, and we will have a job fair, I'm sure, at the National Museum of the U.S. Army again this year. That was a very successful one. And we do have signs for the annual town meeting that some more information people would like. And the last one I believe I have is Liberty Shopping Center, what is opening? And that's the commercial side of Liberty Marketplace, as we're calling it. In addition to the Lidl's that's coming, that will be opening this summer, there's also the MMA, it's a mixed martial arts studio. There's also yoga. There's a place for artists. And then there's the Lidl I mentioned. And they are absolutely seeking other tenants. So if you have somebody that is interested or might be interested in locating at Lorton Marketplace, I know that they would love to come talk with you and love to talk with you. With that, I don't see any other folks who have any questions or interested in speaking. With that, I will formally conclude the 35th annual Mount Vernon District Town Meeting. Once again, I thank my my predecessor for putting this together and creating this kind of a community event that all are welcomed and are there to challenge and or ask questions of their leaders. So again, my pleasure. It's an honor to serve. Look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you.
Friends of the Library groups are independent